This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education. Not because questions what is that only section indicated. Board members may contact above for professional assistance, including for purpose of this business, may send the risk and BHAS.org. Secretary Triplett, President Craig, Trustee Gaddis, President, Trustee Rocket Martin, Trustee Doyle. The form has been established. And let the record reflect, Secretary Triplett has arrived at 6:06 p.m. Next, we have approval of the agenda. Our agenda is light this evening. I anticipate that we should be able to get out fairly shortly. We are missing one thing that was anticipated for today, that is closed session. Can be followed. We will send you an update as to do that if it's prior to the next schedule purpose. Other than that, it should changes to our agenda. And then resume, I did not just think that about this with staff report H1. So at this time, I'll ask if there a motion to approve the agenda. Yes. Is there a second support? Motion has been made. I'm just going to question. Secretary Triplett, are you ready to call the roll?
Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Vaughn.
Next, we have review of our Board of Education. The Board of Education. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. Frank, side conversation. Start time wisely. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions on the show. There will be no surprise at the board table. We will practice the settlement collaboration. Those pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data. Those are the norms that we utilize in the each other at the table. Public, the public also utilize these with us. I would like for the board to hear because I would like for us to edit her and report. So that would be part of the next, we have public comment on agenda item. Is there anyone here for a public comment on the agenda item? I know that you're very familiar with the state. Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on education, which is for allowing the public to express themselves and I want to speak public comment on the items of the public comment. We request that each participant through the public participation form the right to that response about permitting our areas of bylaw then patient. But
I don't know what I did.
Ethan,
So you. It's the. Yeah, I think it's that. No, wait, it's, sorry, don't touch my. It's, you got to go through your settings.
It's not.
Any of those.
It's
Just click on any of those.
Yes.
Yeah.
Challenge.
Recording in progress.
What encompasses academic, community. Syndicated forward, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
What with this situation. Because they support two students for therapy. No teacher, so just it I feel I'm the first that it will bother our students because everything the speed if I go to only 1 to 3% to see the increase in their test scores. So I want our we looking at better goals and that I think MLK said and also is like speaking in the air. I'm learning not to pay attention. They choose. I know that they'll get encouraged to come speak, you know, no, to be, no, and just like you're looking at kids, these sons, to work. And probably hearing the approval of the Okay, so at this point, for the schools, section 7/9/24, special session 7/11/24, work session 7/22, special session 7/27. Yeah.
I figured it out because I had. Take this.
Yeah, this. Go to line.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, we are at board business. Reminder protocol as of 9/13/2022. All comments will be limited to 2 minutes per trustee per topic. First, under board business, we have policy committee discussion. I'm not sure, was this a discussion you wanted to have with us, trustee Gavin? More so a discussion than an update?
Just an update.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. So it was brought to my attention that there were two policies that we need to look at, policy 2264 and policy 2266. The reason for the urgency is that the law changed pretty quickly. And there was a meeting with Liz and Neola, and they informed her, among others, as to why these changes must take place. So I would like to encourage the board to, for this to be the first reading, for you all to take a look at these policies, between now and our September meeting. The policy committee will be meeting next Monday at 6 o'clock. And if you have any concerns, it'd be great if you would let us know prior to that. The first policy is a special update to Title IX, June 2024, new non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities. And the second one is policy 2266, copy of non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities. There is some, these are some pretty lengthy policies, so I'm not going to read them in this board meeting. They are, 15 and 25 pages long. So I'm going to give you all an opportunity to read them yourselves. And then in September, we will do the second reading and a vote. There are, I just want to direct your attention to the drafting note. There is some guidance from Neola in green in drafting notes so that you can have a better understanding as to why the recommended changes are there based on the law. And I will accept any questions that you all may have about those policy updates.
Trustee Gavin, can you repeat the last bit that you said? You said pay attention to the green because of what?
Yeah, so pay attention to the green section that says, it's highlighted in green and it
Okay.
says drafting note.
Okay.
Neola took it upon themselves to explain why these changes have been made and their recommendations so that you can have some clarity about the changes. So as you're reading, just pay attention to that highlighted area. If it's not highlighted or crossed out, then it's the same policy as it was before.
All righty. Any questions? Oh, you have the floor to keep running.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding those two policies?
So, trustee Gavin, you stated that, the Neola, we talk about the policy committee, you stated that the Neola group, had contacted, the administrative assistant for the superintendent, and that these were very urgent policies, as the laws had changed. And, we're just seeing this right now. How long did the, administrative assistant have this information?
It looks like the change was made July 31.
Okay.
So there wasn't a lot of time in between our policy committee meetings. That's why, and I appreciate Liz for sending an email to our policy committee and explaining that in detail as to why this happened. They normally don't put anything like this on the agenda without going through the committee, so.
All right, I have another question. So when Neola, which is the organization that keep our district aligned with changes in laws and what have you for the state of Michigan, do you get contacted by that person as the chairman of this committee as well?
I did not receive a call about the update. However, Chris Rice, who is our liaison with Neola, he has an open door policy. He's always willing to come to our meetings if we have any questions, and he's available by phone call. But no, I did not receive. And
I guess my question is basically this. So moving forward, I think that so that we will be on top of our responsibility, that whoever is over the policy committee, when this information comes from Neola, that information, that contact is also made with our chairman, which we have a competent chairman over the policy committee.
I'm in agreement with that. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Secretary Triplett. Liz did explain that most of the people on the call were superintendents and their executive assistants, but I think it is good for policy chairs to be abreast of the changes as well.
Well, I'm just saying in the partnership with the Neola group, because Neola supports the Board of Education. I'm staying.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Nothing at all. Okay, so now, all right, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Secretary Triplett. Are there any other questions regarding those two policies?
No, I would just like to say thank you for your work and your efforts and your passion for policy. I think it was an excellent placement. I'm a policy buff myself, so I can value another person that appreciates policy. And I look forward to us doing a second reading. And if it's anything that you notice that needs to be pointed out to us after you do your committee meeting, feel free to email us and let us know.
Thank you so much, President Robinson. And just one quick update on the policy committee. One thing that we are addressing, I mentioned it before, is cell phone use. We have reached out to Neola, Dr. Butts reached out to Neola, looking for best practices in regards to cell phone. I know it's a hot topic. It can be a distraction in some cases, and in some cases, a cell phone use in the classroom can be a complement. And so we're looking to identify a policy that will ensure that cell phone use is something that complements education and does not interfere with education. We have gotten some recommendations to eliminate cell phone use. So this is the time to make sure that you are providing us with solutions, ideas, any thoughts that you have about cell phone use as we look to update that policy to make sure that cell phones are not a distraction in the school building and that they are used in a way that complements the educational system. So we're really looking for better ways to do discipline. And so I'll turn it over to President Robinson, and I'm open to all ideas to improve policies that will create a safer learning environment. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. So that's all we have currently for board business. Next, we have superintendent updates. We're moving fairly quickly. So I'll pass the floor to Dr. Butts.
Thank you, Madam President. At the last partnership agreement meeting, we basically went over the things that I mentioned in the last board meeting. We talked about growing our own, the new math curriculum adoption, the ESSER 3 that were approved for in the middle of the two financial audits. We also talked about the TNT, TNR, UTRP status, the tracking sheet that has been formed to keep everybody up to date and where they are in the process. We also talked about the PBIS rewards and migration. We talked about communities and schools as well. We also talked about how the RAG funds will be dispersed. So generally, we just went over the topics that are in the partnership agreement and make sure that we're up to date on all of our steps. We also discussed board training, and I think you've been in touch with Ms. Chapman in reference to additional board training.
All right, any questions for Dr. Butts? Vice President Bowen?
On the community and schools,
Can you pull your mic a little bit closer?
on the community and school thing, is there a non-compete clause that we have with them?
So they are funded through the state to work with the schools, not just our school in particular, but schools throughout Michigan. So some of their funding is coming directly through the state. So I don't think there will be a compete clause there.
What I'm saying is, they're just working in Benton Harbor schools locally right now, or will they be going to our charter schools also?
So right now, we signed up for Benton Harbor area schools. From my knowledge, I'm not certain about the charter schools, but I know they're working in the public school sector. So from what I read on the grant application, I'm not sure if they included the charter schools in that grant application. I can make sure and check, but from my knowledge, the charter schools are not included through that from MDE. So they're not going to be competing with, having us to compete with charter schools.
Okay, and I'm referring to as, when I say compete, where you have some staff
Yes, sir.
leaving to go to community and schools. And then when that grant is over with, well, they're come back to us, and I see a win-win for both, but I also see a concern because it's creating vacancies now. However, some of those, never mind, I won't go, but that's what my concern was on that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Secretary Triplett?
Okay, I've just to piggyback on what trustee, Vice President Bourne was saying, talking about communities and schools, and their roles, and it's good to have, that partnership and what have you, but I guess for me too, when we establish partnerships with various institutions and what have you, in that, is there a clause where people, who are working with us do not come in and steal our employees? And do not, do we have a clear understanding of how that looks?
So from my understanding, they were gonna come, when they first presented it to us, the way they were coming in was to work with the schools. So it wasn't presented as a compete. Now, some of our employees opted to go with them for pay reasons. In some instances, we've made sure that we've done our due diligence on our end to make sure we kept up with our pay. This year, as you approved the budget on June 30th, part of that was a 3% increase for all of the district staff. So our pay is in line across all districts.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just for that. I'm talking about all entities that come in and partner with us, because I think that's something that we need to be mindful of.
Yes, sir.
That when people are coming in, because people are coming in from all different spaces and places. And so we need to make sure that we secure our assets and our people and what have you. So it wasn't for that particular situation, because I'm familiar with communities and schools and what their roles are. But that was just a question. Also, I heard you mention something about, I know that in the partnership agreement, that they're getting ready to pull the data of the test scores. I was at the partnership agreement meeting, and to determine where we are, because it has been 18 months. So are we prepared? Because there will be a major meeting coming up, if I'm not mistaken, in September.
November.
In November.
Yes, sir.
And so all of this information, the state testing information been dispersed throughout the state of Michigan.
Some of it was embargoed. I'll let Ms. Cup speak to that as far as when the embargo is lifted. But when we do our 18-month benchmark, it will be from the fall testing. So that will be, we'll start getting the information ready in September. Once we get our information ready, RISA will review it. Then it's sent to the state for review. Then we will start to put our comprehensive presentation together.
So before this is sent out to RISA, do you all present to us and let us know where we are, where we're standing?
We can. If that's a request of the board, yes, sir, we can.
All right, thank you.
You did perfect. Got 1 second left.
Yeah, y'all don't mind nobody's time but mine, but I'm good
Well,
with that.
I would like to state for the record, I am the chair, so I do have the accountability of listening to you and monitoring the clock.
I understand.
Okay.
You've told me that several times that you're the chair.
Well, I just wanted there to be clarification for everyone in the room that when I'm monitoring the clock, that's because it's my job as chair.
I understand.
Okay. Trustee Gavin?
Thank you, Chair. Robinson, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Butts. My question is regarding the TNT status tracking document.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a few questions in that regard. One, is there a plan of action for those TNTs to be paired up with a mentor? For those mentors who are no longer with us, I see that there's mentors that are no longer with us on that sheet. And so one, is there a plan of action to make sure that those TNTs get paired up with a mentor? Should I just read all the questions or do you want to answer them one by one?
One by one. So we are actually in the process of making sure that there's a mentor, or we're looking at the possibility of a mentor teacher for all of the TNTs and TNTs, TNR, and URTPs. But there is a plan in action to help them to move forward according to the tracking sheet. The tracking sheet was done to make sure that we know exactly where everyone is in the process. And now we know exactly what to help that person with as they move forward.
Thank you for that. And do you have kind of a expected date as to when you would make sure that they have a mentor?
And I have Ms. Cups working on that. Ms. Cups, would you like to speak to that?
Our first session for the TNTs, TNRs, and UTRPs is in September after they've had an opportunity to get started in the classroom. So that gives us a week and a half before school starts and about 3 weeks until that first meeting. But the goal is to have the mentor plan in place at that time.
Thank you so much. My next question is, does the program allow for new applicants? There are some folks who are interested in participating in the teachers and training program. Who would, if people are asking us in the community, who would we be sending them to? Would it be Mrs. Kupch or?
So I'm happy to field those questions along with Mr. McDermott. We are making sure that our teaching candidates have bachelor's degrees or higher for the classroom instruction position. That is what's recommended from the different partners that we are working with for the certifications. And we also want those degrees to be coordinated with the position that the person is applying for. So if a person comes to us with an interest in teaching in the elementary schools, we would hope that their degree is related to that, something with child development, early childhood education, even social work, a variety of different degree pathways that would be closely related to the work that they would do in the elementary school. In the secondary level, it's more content related. So we are encouraging applicants to apply for positions that match their education background.
Thank you. Is the bachelor's degree required or is it just recommended?
So the bachelor's degree is required. We do not currently have any programs that will support someone with less than a bachelor's degree for the teacher licensing. For a substitute permit, you have to have at least 60 credit hours or an associate's degree. There are programs that are available for people to continue their education. There is one program in the state of Michigan called Talent Together that is funded with state funds, but they've only started with their first cohort. And after speaking to that representative, it's very difficult to get into the program because they only accept as many candidates as they have state funding for. I believe the numbers they gave us were 2,000 applicants and they were only able to accept 500 because that was the maximum that they could support with the program.
Thank you so much. My last question is regarding just kind of the T and looking at this program, just kind of how it works in general. If there is a T&T, do we have a process in place to, protect their positions? Or do they go in just knowing if I join this program, I can be replaced at any time? Does that question make sense? Like, do we have something in place that kind of gives them some level of job security while also searching for certified staff?
So we put together a website. It's linked on the district website under the employment section that delineates much of this information. The goal is not to put a job in jeopardy. The goal is to put forth the expectations and the support through the Grow Your Own workshops to facilitate success as a teacher in the classroom. But because our goal is to have certified teachers, if a candidate hypothetically does not attend very many of those workshop sessions, does not complete their MTTC Michigan certificate, I'm sorry. I'm trying to give you the words for that acronym, but
Miss,
Just use the acronym this time. It's okay.
MTTC, the teacher certification exam for your content area. If they do not attempt to take that test, if they don't apply to the program, for example, #teach, then that person is not demonstrating their due diligence to continue in the program. And that would be a different situation. Our goal is to not repeat the same end of school year situation that we had this year. Our goal is to move our teaching staff that is invested in our students and our district to become fully certified teachers. And so we wanted to take all the information from all of our research and where all of our candidates are at and put together the comprehensive plan so that we have a roadmap of where to go.
Thank you so much. Thank you, President Robinson.
All right, so I will ask if the curriculum committee, Director Kupch, if you could kind of do an update on TNT. And I know that you just gave us that update, but maybe there might be more thorough questions needed about the status of the TNT program, how many TNTs returned, how well they're doing, things like that. So we can ensure that that committee is always up to date on the status of that program. Okay. And if you could make that like a update each meeting. All right, awesome. Any other questions regarding the partnership agreement? Hearing none, Dr. Butts, you can proceed with the strategic plan update.
yes, ma'am. With the strategic plan update, those KPIs and metrics remain the same from the last board meeting because we're at the very beginning of the school year. So I thought it was important to let those remain the same until we get the school year started, and then we do our adjustments as we go along.
Okay, so just for clarification purpose, are we making or meeting the marks that we've set for ourselves? Are there certain areas where you feel like we need more work or?
Yes, ma'am. So we are meeting the mark in some areas, and there are definitely areas we need to work on. One of those areas in particular is the after-school tutoring.
Okay.
We got to make sure that we bolster the after-school tutoring and make sure that our students are engaged. It was offered, there was not much engagement, so I got to make sure that so it's more engaging at the elementary level than secondary level. So I got to make sure that we're getting the information out and making sure that parents are aware that these opportunities exist for our students so that they can take advantage of them.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, Madam President.
You have the floor.
For Dr. Butts, I mean, for some time now, every time there's a presentation on the strategic plan and the strategic goal, we just get the same document. So I don't really know how intensely you're working on you all are working on the strategic plan and making sure, because this is just the same thing. So I don't have anything, I don't know if anybody else has received, like what you all are actually doing. Mm-hmm. Because this right here, I read this every meeting when it's time to be reported out that this is the strategic plan. And then we'll ask a question and you'll say, yeah, we need to do this or we need to do that. So is there do you guys meet on this on a regular basis? Do you all have minutes and notes and those things that have been achieved and those areas that have not been achieved, and areas that you guys are working on as a team? I know this team is a new team, but the goals and the standards still remain the same.
Yes, sir. So they're kind of braided into the partnership agreement with the strategic plan. So as we go through our partnership agreement, we do look at our strategic plan in those areas. And so one of the areas I just identified, which was the tutoring, we were able to receive more money in that area. And so we're gonna concentrate in the area. We also looked at the TNTs and TNRs, UTRPs, as part is retaining, recruiting, and hiring the best staff. So it's kind of braided into what we do.
Like, I think it would be pretty good. I think it would be good. Well, it'd be good for me that all of the things that you all have done and where you are, I think that would be good for you all to report it out to us. It should be something other than us coming and looking at these strategic, the goals and the strategic plan, because we put the strategic plan together in conjunction with the superintendent and the community of Benton Harbor. So I just need something more concrete if you can do that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I would just like to notate for the record that Secretary Triplett is speaking in support of his president, because that's something that I expressed to him before. I just want to, and I've said it at other meetings, sometimes you create a plan or a roadmap, but you look up a year or two later and you have not actually been working with that document. Not saying that that's what's happening, but we set a pretty impressive plan, a roadmap for what we need to turn our district around. I just want to make sure that we're putting our hands on this often.
Yes, ma'am. So what I'll do is I'll start making benchmarks
Okay.
and showing where we are in the process.
All right. And that's for your reference too, because it might be something. All right. So we're going to keep it moving if there's no other questions. Superintendent Gold.
President
Oh,
Robinson.
Trustee
I'm sorry.
Gavin.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Buzz, for the update. I just have a couple questions. I noticed that you have in here a what is it, a PTA, Parent Teachers Association? And I'm impressed with that. I'm glad that that is something that's going on. I see you have a couple schools in which that has started, and based on your evidence. I lost it. I think it was the lower elementary schools.
It was.
Okay, is that something that's only for those schools, or is that something that you're also looking to have at your middle and high school levels as well?
Looking to expand it to both the middle and high, because as research has shown, the more parents are involved at all levels, the better the student academic success is. So we are looking to push that up to the secondary schools as well.
Okay, thank you. And then I also saw you're looking to have a feedback loop for students. And I see the evidence is surveys, but you have like focus groups here on the front end. And I'm wondering, is that something, because I only see the surveys as the evidence, is that something that you are looking to do to actually give the students more of an opportunity to participate? Like, what other strategies do you have in mind to make sure that their voices are involved in the decision making?
So along with the surveys, the plan and the hope for each building is that they have a student government body, and even start at the elementary level so they can start to learn the processes of governing, so that their voices can be heard through that way as well, as along with the PBIS reward system.
So you're saying they're student government?
That's the plan, to make sure that each school building at each level has a student governing body, so they could, especially at the elementary, so as they learn and as they transition upward, they will already be prepared. So in prior conversations we've talked about each year having the students representatives at the board level. So, we want the students to choose and not me choose, and that it seemed to be favoritism. So now what I want to do is make sure that coming up through the different grade levels, they're already familiar by the time they get to the high school.
Okay, thank you so much.
Trustee Raquel Martin,
So in the elementary school.
I need you to pull your
so in
mic
the
up.
Elementary school, that would be like student council.
Something similar, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. If there's no other questions for Dr. Bus, we'll proceed to superintendent goals. Dr. Bus, you had it noted that you needed clarification, so I thought I would wait till we got to the table.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. On that, with the clarification that I'm requesting, it's just to be sure to kind of nail down exactly what these goals are as I try to create them and make sure that they are in line with what you guys would like to see. And so I'm up for suggestions on some obtainable goals, something that's within our reach.
Trustee Raquel Martin.
Madam President, from the training that we took at the ISD, the board's goals and the superintendent's goals should be made in conjunction with each other. It's not, he makes his goals, we make our goals, but there's a partnership or a collaboration there so that we're all on the same page. Your goals should be our goals should be your goals, so that we are all moving in the same direction and getting the same outcomes that we want. So that is the new recommendation from the state of Michigan on the new assessment for the superintendents, for the evaluation piece.
So based on the silence from the table, Dr. Butts, I'll work with you directly. If you could do me a favor and pull the notes. I think you first, I don't know if it was June we started this.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if you could pull the minutes, just the sections regarding the goals. And then we can take a fresh eye and look at all of the feedback that was actually received. Because we've discussed it a couple times. So I'll work with you one-on-one with that.
Thank you.
Madam,
Secretary Triplett.
I was looking for the actual goals, and the goals that were submitted. I think that like Trustee Rocket Martin said, all of our goals, even though there will be some variations, as far as board work is concerned, the superintendent goals align with the partnership agreement, strategic plans, but the goals that were submitted were there weren't any measurable. They were very broad. And so for me to look at that and the reason that we paused, because there was no pieces and no places and spaces in there for us to even hold the superintendent accountable. And so when we look at the goals, and that's for the board within itself, every goal that is presented should have some measurable. Every goal that is presented should not only have measurables, but it should have timeline that when can we expect this to be accomplished? What is the window for those things? And it was just general information that was placed in the document that I saw. And so it was my understanding that we would work along. I mean, when you put your goal in there, because there were on the sheet, if I remember, there were sections that did not have any information. So if you're saying like, okay, your goal is to improve attendance. And so by this time and by that time and by this time, these are the things that we'll be checking because there was nothing for us to do. You see what I'm saying? So there was nothing to hold you against. I mean, it's not like holding, but there needs to be measurable. Right. When we're establishing goals, and there also needs to be timeline. So if you can send that document back, if I can send it again, so we can just look at it and as a committee review it ourselves so we have an understanding.
Okay,
President, you have the floor, Trustee Gavin.
Thank you. I guess I would just piggyback off what Secretary Triplett is saying. I would expect under superintendent goals, just like there's a link for the partnership agreement update, the strategic plan update, there would be a link to the superintendent's goals that we could review. The board, when asked, indicated what goals were important to us. They indicated it with the strategic plan, and we were specific when this was brought before us. And quite frankly, upon starting the work, SMART goals is where we start, right? And so I would I don't know that it's a thing that we need to go back and work with the superintendent on. I believe it is a thing in which I would recommend Dr. Bus to go back and review maybe the tape of what we said, very specifically what was important to us. And is in the strategic plan updates. I think that's what we're looking for is, we're looking for improvement in our culture and climate, right? We're looking for improvement in our facilities. We're looking for improvement in academic performance. We're looking for improvement in staff morale. I mean, we all want the same. We all are indicating that we want the same things in those goals, and we make them measurable, like Secretary Triplett said, with a timeline attached to it. But we all specified that already in our previous meeting. I'm sorry.
Noted. It's a hand here. Which doing? Well, you have the floor, Trustee Bowens. Vice President Bowens, my apologies.
I was looking at the meeting minutes from July 9th. And I know that motion failed on the superintendent goals. Everyone expressed concern to 3, professional development.
Can you speak a little closer into the mic?
Okay, somebody stated professional development. Someone stated academic progress. They didn't feel it was strong enough. Someone talked about the TNTs. So I get, and then when it was time to vote, the vote failed.
It wasn't a negative vote. There just wasn't support, right? There was no motion made.
Well, a motion was made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Raquel Martin that the Benton Harbor Area School vote to accept the goals as created by the board in agreement with the superintendent for the 2024 superintendent performance evaluation. The motion failed due to a tie vote.
Oh, it was
Yeas,
3-3.
Robinson, Creighton, Raquel Martin, nays, Gavin, Doyle, Triplett, abstain, Bowens.
Okay.
So you need to bring that back up for a vote, and
So it would have to come back for a vote. What was presented, there wasn't enough of us present. I could have broken it by taking a second vote, but I hate to do that. So that's why, and I don't want to give off the impression that I am creating the superintendent's goals with him. All I was essentially asking that he do is do like you just did and reference the minutes.
Mhm.
And then when we work together, we'll just go through what the
Right,
minutes are.
looking at this, it wasn't stuff that was agreed upon.
Right.
There was not a solid goals that were set by the board. I mean, we haven't set a solid goals, nor did we vote to agree upon it. So
There was feedback that was given in previous meetings. So like each trustee went through and outlined, they provided him feedback as to what they wanted the goals to be. And then he brought them back a couple times.
I understand that, and I get that he brought it back a couple of times. But just what I'm looking at on July 9th when we voted, so we would need to get that revoted.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna proceed. Thank you, Dr. Butts, for your presentation this evening. We're gonna move right along with teaching and learning. Secretary Triplett, I'm not sure whether or not your committee has had a meeting since we last met. Is there an update currently, or will we get one in our work session meeting?
There's not an update from the board perspective because the director, the superintendent and director, myself, they're new. With them being new in their positions, they were boots on the ground running. As I share with Trustee Gavin, we need to give them an opportunity to get themselves settled in and find out what's best for their schedule. But I did call the superintendent to know we need to meet. I wanted to meet with the superintendent and the new directors in curriculum and facilities. So at this time, for the teaching and learning, on the agenda, it has our director, Kupsch. Did I say it right? Kupsch. So she has something that she will be presenting this evening. I'm excited to hear what she has to present.
Okay, sounds good. So we'll have a committee update noted on the work session agenda for you, Secretary Triplett. So we'll
Thank you.
pass the floor to Director Kupch with summer school updates.
For summer school, K-8, we had 143 students. They had breakfast and lunch every day, transportation to and from school. They had social and emotional instruction provided through Threads of Hope. In K-5, our students grades 6 to 8 had the social and emotional instruction through our Taekwondo program. Grades K-8 instructional focus was on math and ELA skill building. All students completed the NWEA MAP growth assessment for a data comparison to spring 2024. The high school students have the opportunity to recover and earn credit for an entire course, which would be 2 semesters or a semester of 2 different courses. The data for our high school credits that are earned is not complete at this time. When they did the rollover for Power School, none of the students are visible in summer school at this time. So it's going to take a little more digging to get exactly the number of credits that the high school students earned.
Okay, so is that just this is a clarifying question that I have. As far as the data not being there, is that just a system glitch or is it something that takes time or just more understanding for us?
I've had many years of experience with Power School, but the way that our schools are set up here in Benton Harbor, there's 7 schools, well, 8 if you include the graduation students. And I'm not sure why the students are not visible. So with some staff that was on out of the building for 2 weeks, I was unable to connect with that person to determine more details for the summer school, high school students.
Okay, and then my last question for that. So the person that is able to assist you has now returned. Do you anticipate that you'll be able to get that clarification before school starts?
Yeah.
Okay. Secretary Triplett? I'm sorry, you are chairing, but you didn't have an update, so it threw me off. You have the floor to chair. I'm sorry.
I understand. I understand. Yeah. I just say everybody gets confused when it's my turn, but I'm good. I'm used to that, but I'm still gonna get what it is that it is and how it is, okay? Power School is not, Benton Harbor does not have a different Power School. And so, as any other school district with Power School. So I'm not sure what the actual problem is because as teachers, that data should go in there on a regular basis. And so I'm not sure what the holdup is with this information. Summer school has closed out. And so in order for summer school to close out, grades should be submitted to counselors. That should already be on their record. That information should be ready for it to be picked up and put on their transcript. Our students went to summer school this year. And I would like to know, so I guess the question that I was prepared to ask was, do you have the information on the data of how many students at the high school level, which is course recovery, online basically, how many of those students that went to summer school all summer long that failed? Was it successful? I'm excited about judo and karate and taekwondo and art and kung ta, but we need some information on some academic data. The purpose and the reason for course recovery is for these kids to recover their courses. And so I don't even know how teachers were even allowed to check out without that information submitted.
So I'd like to clarify that the grades are entered in Power School. The teachers used Power School to take attendance and to enter the grades throughout all of summer school. We have an additional spreadsheet that has every course listed and whether it was semester A or semester B, and if the students earned credit. I can give you numbers from that spreadsheet, but I prefer to compare to what's in Power School to ensure that the number that I give you is accurate and correct. When I open Power School to look at the students that are in summer school, before summer school closed, all of the students K through 12 were visible in Power School, and now they are not. That's why I need to work with the person who works with Power School in the background to answer that question.
I just no back and forth, but there has to be, somebody has to give you some access because Power School has several different types of ways to report. Okay, as an administrator, Power School of a school with 1,600 students, we can go into Power School and pull whatever data that is needed. That's the purpose of Power School. So I'm not sure who the expert is in Power School. Evidently, you have not been given the access, the necessary access, because it's not that it's here and it disappeared. I mean, you know, that's just something that is a red flag for me. Okay. And so not you, but it's a red flag for me. Okay. So Power School holds information and data from these kids who are in the 12th grade from the time that they were in kindergarten. So when we meet, we'll get an opportunity to get some clarification on what's going on as it relates to being able to report out and having access. Is there anybody else who have any questions as it relates to summer school?
Chair Triplett.
Yeah.
Thank you. I guess my question is, do we have a data coordinator or an education technology coordinator who on the back end is kind of making sure that you have all of the data you need in the way that you need it?
So we have Munetrics, which is one of the systems that's recommended by the state as a data warehouse and a place to pull all the information. We also have an SIS coordinator who assists with pulling data from all of our instructional technology and other systems. Yes, we have that.
We have an in-house, we have a SIS coordinator.
Yes.
Can you tell me what that acronym means?
Student information system, that's Power School.
Is that a person?
The coordinator person?
We
Yes.
have a,
Yes.
okay, and so that person would be able to help.
Yes, and that person was on vacation for 2 weeks to help
Gotcha.
troubleshoot the situation.
Got you. Okay, so we just have that one person. There's no. Thank you.
So, and if I may just jump in on that one, the back end person, that person is the back end person. Our front end person is sitting in our audience, Miss Matthews. So we actually have two people that work, one on the front end and one on the back end for the information for Power School. So the SIS person acts as our backup for that, and from the front end, Miss Matthews is the front end person for Power School.
I'm just trying to make sense of it, you know, just trying to understand why, you know, who is the person that will make sure that we're reconciling grades? That's what we do, right? That's one of the top things that we do. The whole purpose of summer school is to help get our kids on track and to assess their progress so that they will know what classes to take, you know, when school starts. And so I know that parents and everybody wants to know that immediately. So just wondering if, you know, if somebody's on vacation, if we, you know, we can make sure that there's coverage so that our administrators can have the information that they need to share that with the board and with the parents and everybody who needs to make these informed decisions.
And thank you. We are working on trying to make sure that everybody's cross-trained so that we can ensure that if anyone is on vacation or out, we can have this information readily available.
Are there any other questions? I do want to close with this from a curriculum perspective. Our parents and our kids deserve knowledge of result. We have a multi-million-dollar school district. We have a system that is in place. And so I just want to share that it is okay to say that we are not prepared. It's okay. But I just cannot sit here and like dummy myself down. To know now school is getting ready to start. We have students who were not able to walk because they had to make up classes. We have juniors who are getting ready to be scheduled in classes and should already be scheduled in their classes. And none of this information is available. I don't think that that's fair to our students. I don't think that that's fair to our parents. And so this is one of the things for me, the accountability and micromanaging piece is a very thin line, for us. So if you don't have, if the front person, as you said, Dr. Butts, the person who knows Power School in this district, front and back, and has known it for years, she knows it. And so when you all are coming to this table to present to us, and it looks like the board is being this or the board is doing that, but we are definitely going to make sure that our students get the best that they deserve. And so again, I will meet with Madam President, Dr. Butts, when we leave this meeting. Can we schedule that meeting as soon as possible so that when we come before the Board of Education, we have all the information? If we don't have the information, it would be my recommendation that is not placed on this agenda.
Trustee Rockhead Martin.
I'm gonna say this. Might sabotage be a problem? Is that something that you even considered?
I have significant experience with Power School, and my professional opinion is that when the students were moved from the regular school year into summer school, they were visible in summer school. And now all of those students have been moved out of the summer school back into their schools. And so to pull them out of summer school, they're not there, but they are still in Power School. All of the data is still there. They're just not in the school, summer school. They're in either BHAS or MLK or FPE. The data is still there. It's just not collected together in the school, summer school.
As a group.
Okay, so thank you, Director Cupch, for your summer school update. I just wanted to see clarification regarding what was going on with the system. I did not expect that we would get stuck there. But I do think it was important questions for us to understand what exactly you were communicating to us. And I thank you all for finding ways to focus on social and emotional learning in a way that was creative and innovative for the students.
Yes.
And I hope that you all had a wonderful summer school program. And I actually think that you do a very great job at answering questions. I don't know if it's okay for me to say that on the record, but I will. So if there's no other questions, I would ask that you move forward to back to school planning update.
So we have our back to school bash planned tomorrow from 1 to 6 p.m. We cordially invite all members of our community to come and celebrate the start of the school year, we will have 1,200 backpacks, one for every student in the district, T-shirts for students to unify the district and an opportunity for each student to have something new to wear on the first day of school, face painting by the Benton Harbor High School cheerleaders. Jessica Hightower will have student family painting Tiger Pride for a make and take event. Glassworks will be here for glass blowing. Diverse Classroom Libraries with MDE will be here for a family book vetting and literacy development table. Great Start Collaborative will have resources for literacy birth to 5. The fire department and police department will be here. Intercare will be here to schedule immunizations and physicals. Berrien County Health Department will have the dental van for checkups and scheduling. Benton Harbor Public Library will have information about after school events and reading engagement. MDHHS will have resources on benefits for families. Meridian Health will have health coverage options, insurance, and giveaways. Riverwood will have mental health resources. Dr. Butts will be there with the Roar Bus. Corewell Health, the Center for Better Health, will have CPR class signups, blood pressure checks, cooking for high blood pressure class signups. Tayer, our new food service, will be presenting our new food service plan and support. We'll have school registration, so everyone can sign up to be a Tiger. Each building will be represented by their building administrator, instructional facilitator, and family engagement specialist. Benton Harbor Area School CTE will have information, and our teaching and learning department will have information about building literacy for families. Our new teacher orientation is scheduled for Thursday and Friday. Human resources will have information about benefits, retirement. We'll have device and equipment distribution, some software platform overview, some mini PDs on instructional technology, classroom management strategies and techniques, and walkthroughs in their specific buildings. We also have professional learning planned for next week. McGraw-Hill will be here 2 days for support with our reading mastery transformation and study sync ELA adoption. They'll also be here to support our 9 through 12 math adoption. Savas will be here for our Envision Math K-8 adoption. Savas will be here on Thursday for science training for our science teachers grades 6 through 12. SIOP, Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol. We have a 3-day training for our K-12 specials, electives, and non-ELA math core teachers, grades 6 through 12. So the first day is on Monday, and we have another date in September and the final in October. They will focus on content, curriculum, neutral instructional framework, language development for all students, because each one of those elective courses, science, social studies, there is a content vocabulary that goes along with that. So language development for the content vocabulary. It's not just one more thing. It's something to serve to amplify positive outcomes. There'll be the SIOP also advances the academic language development, as I mentioned, and meaningful engagement through any lesson or mode of delivery. We'll have communities in schools here on Tuesday, along with Black Male Educator Alliance. There'll be an opportunity for building development on Thursday, which will be guided by the building and department leaders based on the needs of their building. And then Friday, before our students come, will be the final teacher workday for lesson planning, room preparation, and team collaboration.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board, Vice President Bowens?
Oh, that was a rigorous and gonna be a hectic few days or weeks. The only thing that I would suggest, and other school districts across the nation are doing it, and it can be used as a tool as marketing content, like a TikTok, or, using some of that stuff as a marketing tool. We're gearing up for back to school, and this is what's happening. This is what we're doing. We have to market this, what's going on and what we're doing. Dr. Butts and President Robinson, sorry.
All right, thank you. Excellent suggestion. Any other comments or questions from the board? Trustee Rocket Martin,
I missed it.
can you please speak into
Is it
your
gonna be-
mic?
But it's gonna be at the high school? Okay, right out, okay, and then I wanna, thank you for the rigor that you put in this, so that you've covered the bases, and so it's a wonderful tool for drawing new students and our former students, older students back into the district. So thank you.
All right, any other questions from the board?
Well, I don't have any other questions, but there was a team of people who were working on this, back to celebration. And a lot of times people don't get the credit for the work that's being done. I mean, just like standing in the gap when we were in transition. And so I think that it is very important that we also acknowledge those people that are behind the scenes doing the work oftentimes that people don't like to do. And so again, I'm excited about those things. I promise I love the dancing. I love that they're gonna be painting faces and all of those things, but I am concerned about the status of our academics, our reporting out, and the updates for as it relates to the curriculum committee, because when we get through with all of this, our main goal, our only purpose, and I know it, as President Robinson said, it's like the support groups, the initiatives, and all of those things, those are critical pieces. But I'm just, our main business here is education. And so, everybody, yes, woo, woo, woo. Kids are failing. Our kids are not passing these state examinations. And people are truly concerned. So again, like I said, I'm looking forward. I want to tell you, thank you. And I appreciate all of you all in your new positions. But when you come into your new positions, you inherit it. There are no excuses. Excuses are tools of incompetence used to build monuments of nothingness. People who use excuses will never become successful people. So we're excited about you all focusing in on your areas of expertise, and we have expectations. Thank you so very much.
Chair Triplett or
Yes, ma'am.
President. I wanted to thank you, Director Kupch, for this detailed update. I'm specifically excited about a few things that I wanted to share. I appreciate that you are giving out so many backpacks. I know sometimes parents are trying to figure out, well, where are the backpacks? What event is having backpacks, going here, going there? Just being able to just come to the high school and everybody being able to get those school supplies is very helpful. It's very helpful to parents. And I like how you are incorporating kind of all of these different organizations and departments to pull it off. I also want to touch on the new teacher orientation. I love that you are, have something in there where they are getting some training in their Power School, Google Classroom, all of this technology. As new teachers, just being thrown into the room and having to decorate your class and just go for it, that's not cool. So I appreciate that you're providing some orientation, and I appreciate the fact that you are going to that's the TNTs. I'm wondering if new teachers will also be connected with a mentor. I think that makes a big difference. Those first few years, teachers are afraid, the efficacy level can be pretty low. So just hoping that there's something there. Also hoping that there is some type of budget for teachers who have to, who are decorating their room. Teachers come out of their pockets a little bit too much. So that's kind of a question there. Wondering if we're providing budgets, and then also making sure that the building principals have their budgets, and those are some concerns about, getting started, making sure people had their budgets.
So the question is about whether or not support will be provided to the teachers with their back to school decorating and whether the principals have their budgets.
Yes, both teachers and principals have a budget. We actually increased the per teacher budget amounts this year, just due to inflation and the needs of our staff, and our principals. Each building has a budget as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that response, because I've always gotten on Facebook and seen people with requests for their classrooms, and I just didn't quite understand it. And I think maybe that's people's desire to go above and beyond, which I understand. But my concern has always been that it gives off this impression that we're broke and the teachers need help, but there is indeed a budget. They just want to go above and beyond.
Correct.
Okay.
And we already supplied the basic needs. The budget is for any additional or specific items that a staff member may need in order to teach their class.
Thank you very much. Trustee Doyle, was that a hand?
My question is, well, they have see it.
Well, we give them their amount that they're allowed, and then they give us a list of items that they need, and then they're ordered and delivered directly to the teacher by the admin assistants. So it isn't like given to them, but they do know the amount that's available, and we do get a list for it first, so we can just vet it and make sure that the items are for educational purposes only, because the budget is from title money. So yes, they do have access to it. Just get us the list. We usually okay it, order it right away, and it's delivered directly to the staff member.
Thank you for that.
Secretary Triplett?
Carter, in the building, do they have room that each one of these individual buildings have paper, pencils, art supplies, all of those different things? Are they in their workroom for teachers with all of these supplies? Are they ordered annually? Because from my observation and from what I'm hearing, the principals, again, do not, I know they have their Title I budget, and then there's a district budget. And then there's money available that we receive that when you walk into that room, it's copy paper, it's construction paper. The kids last year for homecoming didn't have any paper to decorate the hall. And so each school, from my understanding, should have this stuff bought on an annual basis. And that's not what I'm hearing. That's not what I have observed. And so when you say that the teachers call and say, well, you got $500 just for your room, what's happening with the building? Do you have y'all order paper from, say, is it coming in like that?
Yes, we do order supplies for the initial start of school. When the teachers come back to work for the new school year, they are notified of the amount that they have. It is left up to the admin assistants to place these orders. And that has been a little bit of a communication issue. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to make it my business to make sure that each teacher's orders have been placed and they have the items that they need. We're going to have to come up with some type of checklist, shared Google spreadsheet. I haven't gotten it carved in stone as of yet, but there will be some type of checks and balances this year to make sure that the items are ordered and ordered timely.
I guess I would just add in the building. Okay, so I just want to give you an example. I walk into the teacher workroom. It is construction paper, all colors, everything that's in that workroom. I can go in and get it in my school. there are art supplies, there are rolls of paper, there are all of these things. I'm not talking about the individual budget money that was allocated to the individual teachers. I'm talking about in Benton Harbor High School, if I came up here and I looked and went into that room, where would all of the supplies for this school from this title money, these millions of dollars that we're getting, where room is it that our teachers go in to get all of these supplies?
So,
Do we have that?
so I'll jump in right there. So with Ms. Brock Carter just coming online, what we've got to do is make sure that we send out to all of our principals since they've gotten back what they have, what they need, so we can make sure we can get those ordered, because that stuff can be received at the school fairly quickly. So yes, so that's an easy lift that we can do.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what you're talking about. When I was teaching, every year when I got to school and we had to do our bulletin boards within the classroom, it's always in the workroom.
Everything.
Right. So we'll make sure that we're setting up, and we're also trying to work on a district-wide calendar so that we'll know when all this stuff is. So we've taken Trustee Gavin's idea about a district-wide calendar. And I know Ms. Cups has been working towards that. And we will be working on that in the cabinet to make sure that we have a district-wide calendar, and also that the building principals have what they need so they can start sending those over to the business office and make sure that we have those supplies on hand when the teachers return.
And each individual building kind of manages their own supplies. You know, I want to say this with the utmost respect. I plan to go on a tour to each individual building to see where these items are being kept, what does a teacher do to request items, you know, what's the process? So that's something that I plan on making sure is done and implemented before school starts.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, because I know last year we had said that each building has a budget, a title budget. And so the district don't tell them in particular what to do. That's their budget. And so they should not have to come and ask anybody for anything. It's their budget. And so it was my understanding last year that the principals were going to be held responsible for managing their budget. And our principals don't even know what their budget is. And they're not able to spend their money the way that they are supposed to based on their need. It's like everybody has to come upstairs and ask, can I get a pencil? That's not right.
And that's, from my experience, that is not how the buildings that I support and speak to on a daily basis operate.
Okay.
So.
But thank you so much. I'm so glad to
welcome.
hear that when I walk in and they just show me some tours of the building, they'll be stopped and ready to go. Thank you so much. We're so
You're
happy
welcome.
to have you with us. Appreciate you too.
Okay, thank you so much. It seems like we've all been able to ask questions. Thank you, Secretary Triplett, as Chairman of Teaching and Learning. I will go now into Human Resources as the Chairman of HR. We had a rigorous meeting. As you can see, at our last special meeting, we had to expedite some hiring and transferring to make sure our students and our students are equipped with the proper people in place. I'm going to go ahead and refer it to Marvin, because we talked about Director McDermott. This was our first meeting as him being the director. So I want to say welcome aboard again. And we discussed some stuff about teaching and learning. T&T, and what we're doing to help them be more accountable and everything. So just give them a brief 3-minute elevator speech, please.
I can do better than 3 minutes.
And before he does it, I just want to remind the board that we've already had a significant amount of questions about T&T. So I don't want us to get stuck on that particular topic, but I will respect your update.
Thank you. As Director Cups already mentioned, we partnered together to make sure that the process for someone from the time they are interested in becoming a teacher in training how do they navigate that process? We've heard a lot of feedback from the teachers in training and those that might be UTRP, hashtag teachers, different programs on what they felt might have helped them or hindered them from making the progress that they wanted. So we worked together to develop a website specifically that is attached to our district website under employment, and it talks about growing our own. So it talks about the process for someone who is currently already in the TNT program, who was grandfathered into some pre-existing requirements. Then, as Ms. Kupch mentioned, we have new standards. And the reason we have the new updated standards, I would say, is feedback that we've received. We want to make sure that we make it very effective and efficient for someone to navigate that, or I should say, reduce the time their titled teacher in training to help them become certified. So we've identified partners and resources to help them first get a good look at that test, along with making sure they have the study material. But the biggest thing is making sure coming in that they've already had that background in that content knowledge, where through the program we will work with in our own academy here in the district, we will help them with the pedagogy, but we want to make sure that they have that content knowledge, even as they're in the class, with the supports that we can, as was mentioned, that we can make sure our students are with that instructor, making sure that they're able to succeed and move scores forward. So I just want to make sure we touch on that. That's on our website. So anyone watching online, if you're interested, please visit our website. And those in the room, please also visit the website. So that's our Grow Our Own. One of the things we also talked about was just our culture and climate as a whole, as a district. We want to make sure we, always focus on recruiting and retaining top talent. One of the things that you will see us do throughout the year, maybe posted around, is initiatives, health initiatives. So coming up real soon, we'll be focusing on wellness. Specifically, this one coming up, we'll be talking about our water intake. I know for me personally, it's easier to drink water when it's hot outside, but what about throughout the school year? So, when we want to talk about the wellness of our staff, we're looking at that. And like we talk about the whole student, we're looking at the whole employee. So we also are looking to push out some more information about our EAP program to provide supports to staff. And those are the two major updates I wanted to give at this time.
All right. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Are there any questions for Mr. McDermott or Trustee Vice President Bowens regarding the Human Resources Committee update? All right, hearing none.
President Robinson.
You have the floor.
Yeah, I do have a question just regarding our coverage, human resources wise. Yeah, I'm wondering, is there a report that can indicate to us where we have vacancies? Because right now I'm just kind of blank. I don't know how many vacancies we have, and then if those positions are posted, like I noticed that the director of finance position has not been posted, right? And we've had that vacancy for a while. So yeah, I'm just curious, how many vacancies do we have? And of those vacancies, are those positions posted? And if not, why not?
I don't want to give you an exact number. I need to review that to see the exact amount of vacancies. We have been revisiting the needs starting from the top with central office. So as you refer to that director position, we've been reevaluating the current needs of where we stand. So once Dr. Butts, if you would like to share on anything on that, once the superintendent makes that decision, we would post that position. Dr. Butts?
So even with that position, we had it posted prior to naming the business office manager. We did not have any applicants. So I will be speaking back with the not only with the finance committee, but the HR committee as well, as far as looking at salaries, looking at our district, looking at our needs, because we did receive some outside advice from previously when we had the CFO opening. So I'll be working with the committees to make sure that we get these things posted in a timely manner.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Are you saying that you posted the position I didn't understand what you said, Dr. Buzz. I'm sorry.
So that the director of finance position was posted. The applicant that we did have decided to take the layoff option. And that was the only applicant that we had at the time.
Right, okay, I'm sorry. What I'm saying is, once that applicant decided that they didn't want the position, it wasn't posted again, right? Like, how long ago was that?
Just July 1.
July 1, so we're a month later, no director of finance, no posting of the position for a month and a half. Have you decided we don't need a director of finance?
No, ma'am, I was giving our business office, the new business office manager, time to catch up. She's had a mentorship from another CFO in another district to make sure that we get back on track before we bring in. It was just like before when we didn't have a CFO, we brought Hungerford in to make sure we were on track. So I want to make sure that our finances, et cetera, stay on track as we bring in a new person. If we try to bring someone new, or we try to train up the person that we have in the position to take over.
So I think, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if Trustee Gavin was done. I think,
No, ma'am, I'm not done. So
okay, go ahead.
thank you. So what it sounds like to me is we didn't have a director of finance. The position was not posted so that we could get a director of finance, and you're possibly deciding whether or not we need a director of finance, or we'll get a director of finance, or we'll tap that job onto another person. So with that in mind, I think that just brings me to the point even further that we need to know where are our vacancies in teaching and learning and administration, where are all of our vacancies? And then also, what is the plan? Are we going to post positions for vacancies or not? Thank you.
Okay, so just to jump in, I know that there has traditionally been a spreadsheet that had vacancies. I know the Human Resources Department previously had access to that. I'm not sure how often we update it, but if you could just share that, so people can see. I'll go to Secretary Triplett. Did you have a comment? I'm sorry.
Yes, I do. This is not an option. We just got out of $18 million in debt. We spent over $600,000 to bring in Hungerford to help clean up. I don't know what anybody is doing. We don't have to rewrite the description. We already know what the salary is, and it should be posted. I don't know who can make that call if I'm not misquoting the Director of Human Resources, because I've sat here silently with my concerns as it related to that position. We'd sat here for almost a whole year asking over and over again, when are we going to hire a Chief of Human Resources? We did not. That is a non-negotiable, colleague. That should have been posted immediately when that job was denied. That should have been up all across America. That we need a finance director in Benton Harbor area schools. Everything is worked out. So I'm very concerned about this. I'm really trying to know, well, I'm just going to do what it is that I do. That job should be posted. Also, Madam President, we're talking about human resources, and we're talking about recruitment. And last year, we did have a recruitment of a person that was with recruitment for teachers and what have you. Have anybody ever tapped in to Teach for America? I mean, and in the human resource department, if the person is recruiting staff and students, do we have any documentation of where they went, their visits, and all of those different things?
You have the floor.
Thank you. We did discuss about recruitment for the teaching, and we did mention Teach for America, and it's another program that we did discuss to recruit some teachers and bring them here. Even the partnership that we want to probably revisit with Andrews University in Western Michigan. As far as us not having, I think the positions that we're talking about are getting confused. We have a recruiter for staff, but that recruiter was not for recruiting students. So that's the difference. So,
No, I was talking about staff.
okay, I'm sorry, what you said students and staff, that's why I'm saying it's the lines are probably
Yeah.
crossed. So we have to deal with the situation that I don't want to tread into legal waters with. So we had no one in that staff where they were basically managing the day-to-day operations because of the legal situation that we were dealing with.
Okay, so thank you to the Human Resources Committee
Well,
for
Madam Chairman, I have Treasurer.
Trustee Doyle.
Thank you, Madam President. My question for HR is, I went on the website and I saw that we.
Trustee Doyle, can you speak a little bit louder? Thank you.
There we go. All right. So my question is, I went online and I noticed that we had a lot of teachers positions available, but there's no salary on there. Can you tell me why?
That is a part of a system setup. I've kind of communicated that to our ISD who kind of oversees that. But the way because we have a CBA, it can be misleading, putting a wide range for a salary. Our CBA currently reflects a BA scale and a master scale. And it's from looking at 0 years of experience to as much as 25. So the recommendation was to not put that salary because it could be very misleading. That range, sorry, could be misleading.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to just keep us moving here. Up next, we have staff report H1. Thank you for providing the update, Mr. McDermott. I appreciate your efforts.
Just want to ask. Okay. The finance position was posted when? July 1st?
Prior to, we had a candidate that I believe was being presented to the board. That candidate accepted, and at a later date, chose a different option.
Okay. And the one we had resigned when?
I don't want to misquote the date, but it was sometime early July, I believe.
Resigned?
Early July.
Early July.
Point of clarity.
Trustee Gavin.
Trustee Rockhead Martin said resigned. I don't think we had a resignation. I think that position was closed, right? The board members closed that position, and that candidate did not take the new position.
Correct.
I'm not talking about the CFO position. I'm saying the when was the when was the finance position posted for the director of finance? When was it posted?
I thought President Roberts was gonna say something. It has not been reposted.
I was getting ready to ask trustee Raquel Martin to scoot back up to her mic.
I'm done.
And I don't mean to cut you all guys off when you're speaking, but just to remind you that there's no one here taking minutes. So if you,
Okay.
I know that you're
Yeah.
more comfortable, laid back and scooched back, but if you're not in the mic, the public can't hear you. YouTube can't record you, therefore the minutes won't be as accurate.
Okay.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I do have a question. As the chairman of HR, I know it's been a lot of talk about the finance committee. I know at that salary we were offering that individual was a nice package. And it's the part of, never mind, I don't want to make it like I'm answering, but we would have to renegotiate that, correct? And repost that, realign that position for an entry level, or?
The position was being reevaluated to make sure, when we look at, we talk, we have a focus on retaining staff, top to bottom. And any position that has been vacated mid-year, beginning of the year, it impacts the operations across the district. One of the reasons the position has not been posted is kind of what you're alluding to. What can we do as a district to make sure that once we post this, that we know we are doing what we can do as a team to attract and retain someone long-term in that position?
So Department of Treasury, we're not in any violation with the Department of Treasury, Michigan Department of Education, or anything of that by not having a director of finance?
I'm going to defer to the superintendent.
We are not, because we have a business office manager.
Thank you.
For a district our size, it is typically recommended that we have a director of finance or a business office manager.
Okay, so if it's no objections from the board, I would like to move forward on our agenda, please. Dr. Buss, as our superintendent, has indicated that he's been analyzing and assessing the position. So I would ask that once you have an update on your assessment of the position, whether you're gonna keep the rate at what it was originally posted as, if we're gonna adjust it or alter it, how it fits in alignment with the office manager position, things of that nature. I know that we met previously I think it was the finance committee met when we originally posted the CFO position and had suggestions on a pay scale for that particular position. We were told that we were setting our salary a little bit lower than what was standard. I'm not exactly sure how the director of finance position fits in the expertise that we received at that particular time, but I know that you brought the position to us for an approval previously with a salary range. So if you could just provide us with an update on once you have finalized your assessment of that position and posted it, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam President,
Trustee Doyle.
yes, can we get like a timeline about how long that would be before we can get that information?
I'll be reaching out to MSBO tomorrow.
Thank you, Dr. Butts. We're gonna keep it moving. Next on the agenda is staff report H1, transfer of staff. Mr. McDermott.
Thank you, President Robson. Submitting for board consideration to approve staff employment in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis. It is recommended that the board approve the superintendent's recommendation for the transfer of the following personnel. Policy reference 3130 and 4130, assignment and transfer of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personnel leadership. Benton Harbor area schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. First on our list of recommendations for transfer, Regina Robinson from the role of administrative assistant at Benton Harbor High School to the administrative assistant role at Fairplain East Elementary. Joyce Perkins from the position of sped clerk at Central Administration Office to the position of administrative assistant at Fairplain Middle School. Carlisha Williams from the position of administrative assistant through EduStaff at FPE to the position of administrative assistant at EduStaff at Benton Harbor High School. Roxanne Gilbert administrative assistant through EduStaff at Fairplay Middle School to the position of long-term substitute teacher through EduStaff with Benton Harbor Area Schools. Natalie Singer, teacher in training math from Fairplay Middle School to the position of executive assistant to the superintendent, Central Administration Office. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion? Thank you, Mr. McDermott. Is there a motion to approve staff report H1?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion to approve staff report H1.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by, I need your roll call sheet, Secretary Triplett. The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Questions, comments, and concerns?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I know at our last week meeting, there was some questions regarding some of the transfers. Has there been a follow-up?
Thank you, Vice President. Yes, actually the morning after, the cabinet team came together to evaluate the decisions for reconsideration. Also, this week, we followed up with the building principal, so we've heard all the concerns, suggestions, and recommendations from both the cabinet level and building principals.
Madam President,
Secretary Triplett.
this, it seems like this, that it's out like, you know, there's a level of micromanagement. Okay, and you know, from what I'm observing, you know, again, like I said, when people look at your school district, they look at your high school. And the high school should have the most seasoned and most credentialed staff in this entire district. So you know, and when this, it's just like we said it, you brought it back, that's what it is now, and that's what we're gonna do. That's what you did. Because you have EduStaff employees at the hub of Benton Harbor Area School in that position. It is unacceptable. I don't even know how this recommendation was even brought before this board when you have the most seasoned and a hired in administrative assistant already in the position. If the response was to go back to the principal and tell them, or go back to the principal and listen to them. Because I don't think people are being integral here. That's me, because it is a small town. And I try my best to send people back up the chain. And there are conversations that I had with each one of us. So don't sit at the table and not play. So I am, again, I feel like and then to throw in the administrative, I guess, I didn't even know that there was even being any consideration of that the job had been posted or what the protocol for the secretary for the superintendent. Is that individual working for the board? And so it's just loads of things that have not, I feel like our employees should have these types of discussions. The HR committee is not the voice of the board in its entirety. It's not. Just like as the curriculum chairman, the curriculum committee don't make decisions without bringing it to this board. The facilities committee do not make any decision without bringing it to the entire board.
Okay, so I'm not, Secretary Triplett, I'm not sure where HR committee came in with your statement because we haven't had any additional meetings since we last met for this topic. So I'm not sure that kind of, yeah, we should not be involved anywhere in H1 because we have not yet met. We discussed HR related moves earlier this month, but we have not met as a committee since this came before the board. I'm sorry to interrupt the conversations and comments, but I just realized that we really should be doing H2 first because Dr. Butts is recommending a transition into the role of the executive assistant. And so we really need to accept or consider the retirement of the current executive assistant prior to being able to hire someone else into or transfer someone into that role. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So if there's no objections, if we could just pause on H1, Mr. McDermott, if you could present H2.
Well, Madam,
How does that?
that's not, we would have to rescind our motion and then move to.
That's fine with me. If you
So,
would,
Madam President, I would like to pause staff report H1 with the approval of Coach Ms. Raquette. And
you're temporarily rescinding.
temporarily
Okay.
rescinding it. And I would like to file a motion to approve staff report. Oh, you gotta read it. sir.
Can you present the report, Mr. McDermott?
Yes, thank you. For consideration, a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis, it is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140, 4140, resignation of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, personnel leadership. Benton Harbor Area Schools will recruit, hire, develop, and retain the best staff to improve student outcomes. Separation of employment, we have Liz Goodwin from the position of executive assistant to the superintendent. A reason for separation, means of retirement, effective 9/13/2024. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the separation of the aforementioned staff.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I make a motion to approve staff report H2.
Is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Raquel Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I would like to just say, I would like to thank Secretary Liz Goodwin for her support from when I first was elected on the board. I am guilty of not responding to text messages or emails sometimes, and she'll call me and get on me. She has been on it, making sure we register for classes, about special meetings and everything of that nature. And I just want to say congratulations on retirement. And thank you for being a good executive assistant to our superintendents and to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Trustee Gavin?
I want to thank Liz Goodwin for her time, her effort, her energy. I appreciate her staying on top of so many things. I appreciate her emails. I appreciate her text messages. I appreciate her registering us for MASB and all of that. And even when we have disagreements, it's a respectful exchange. And I am grateful for that. I do think that micromanaging is turning into a talking point. I think it's important to be specific about who you have an issue with and what that issue exactly is, because you cannot put everybody in the same group. If you really want a solution to the problem, tell what the problem is. What is the exact thing that happened so that we can work on correcting that exact issue. And anytime you have an issue, everybody needs to take a look and say, okay, what did I do? And I'm in disagreement with her just making it seem like it's nobody but the board. I think that's an unfair statement. I think that there are some issues on the board. I think there's some issues in the state, and I think there's some issues all the way down that we all need to examine and correct. But I'm grateful for her service. I respect her comments, and I think it's something for us to take a look at and to correct. And I pray that whoever we get, that this person is treated with the utmost respect at the board table, even if we have to correct them.
Trustee Raquel Martin?
I'd like to echo the sentiments of Ms. Gavin. I do appreciate Liz and her due diligence and the work that she has done and the fact that she stays on us to do what we need to get done and the fact that she has it ready for us, and I appreciate that. And all of the things that she did for us. And I wish her well on her new whatever job or whatever she plans to do from this resignation point. I just appreciate her. And I think, as Mrs. Gavin said, it's a time that we can reflect on ourselves and all of us take a look at ourselves and see how we project ourselves to other people. It makes a difference.
So I will just say congratulations to Ms. Goodwin on her retirement, 40+ years of service in various fields. You've earned it. I appreciate your efforts given to Benton Harbor area schools. And I hope that life blesses you abundantly in the future. Trustee Doyle.
Thank you, Madam President. I would also like to wish Liz, Ms. Goodwin, the best in her future endeavors. I appreciate all that she has done. It was a little shaky in the beginning, but it has grew, and I appreciate her for all that she's done.
Secretary Triplett.
Yes, Madam President, I too would like to take this opportunity to thank
Goodwin.
oh yeah, Ms. Goodwin. I would like to thank her for what she has done in her role as the assistant to two of our superintendents, and I appreciate her stepping in and falling into the role and what have you, and doing the things that her job responsibilities require of an employee at that particular level and capacity. I also would like to say to our HR director of HR, it's very, very nice, and the record has not been broken when there is I'm so happy that we were able to get an exit interview, an exit response. And that's very, very, very important, that when employees leave the district that they do an exit interview. And so now I would like to start seeing some exit interviews other than those exit interviews that persecute the Board of Education for their roles and their stance in their position. But again, I close with this. Thank you, Mrs. Goodwin, for your years of service, and we appreciate you, and you will surely be missed. Thank you.
All right, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for staff report H2?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens, Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
and Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Madam President, motion carried.
All right, so now we're back at staff report H1. So I'm gonna ask again, is there a motion to approve staff report H1?
Madam President.
You have the floor.
I make a motion to approve staff report H1.
Is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Vice President Bowens and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. I know that we have had a comment from Secretary Triplett on this topic previously. Is there any other questions or comments from the board? Vice President Bowens.
Yes, I do want the record to show, and thank you for clarifying that I think it's this attitude that the HR committee is telling and giving directives or orders, and that is questioning our integrity as a committee, and that is not something that we do. And as the chairman of that committee, I've taken offense when we make those broad statements with inaccurate data or information. So thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments from the board regarding staff report H1? Trustee Gavin. She had her hand raised.
I can wait if,
I just
Go
wanted
ahead.
to ask a question. I first of all, I see the executive assistant to the superintendent position there. Was this position posted? And
So these are just transfers. But he has to bring them before us because,
no, these are for
These are
that position.
right. It's a-
That is an executive position. And that has to, my understanding, so I'm asking for clarification. I don't want you all to get tired or breathless or what have you for this just to be thrown in here because that wasn't in there last week. And so when you're talking about an executive assistant, because there again, I don't know, I don't know what has to happen because this just came up this week.
Thank you,
I
Secretary.
never saw this.
Thank you, Secretary Tripp. Yes, I think at last Thursday's board meeting, I did mention we anticipated we would have new hires. We did not get to the point of new hires. However, completing the interviews that we did complete, we have a transfer. So this position, the interview for this process, for this position presented to you today, started early June. And we are now presenting a candidate who is a BHAS employee for transfer.
So these are all administrative assistants, and this is a teacher in training. So this right here, with you shifting over, these right here, I see where the transfer comes into play. But this particular position is not aligned with those. She was not and is not, and I do not have a problem with the individual that's in that position, but she was not an administrative assistant. She was a math teacher in training. And so we're taking a teacher in training from the math department of our school district and moving her to an administrative assistant position. I don't think that this position should be in with this report. It just, like you said, we asked the question last week and you've been interviewing since June. It could have been said that we will be also hiring an executive, the executive assistant to the superintendent. It does not seem right. It does not feel right to me. It doesn't. And so everybody, it's 7 members on this board and it could be 6-1 and I'm good with it. But what I'm not gonna do is sit up in here and not express myself on how I feel about it because it seems manipulative. It's like you're doing something. This right here should be a completely different report. And if we were talking about an executive assistant to the superintendent, which in that contract, that person is also an assistant to the Board of Education. Did anybody on the Board of Education have any say-so or any conversation about who was going to be in this role? Because they will be working directly and closely with us. That's just my question.
So, Secretary Triplett, I would prefer not to have any input on who's placed in the position because it's a role that's hired by the superintendent and not necessarily the Board of Education. And so with me, I hear you saying that you would like them separated. So if you are wanting this removed from the consent agenda, then I can see if Trustee Bowens is willing to amend his current motion to do that. But it's really the liberty of the board, how you all would like to proceed.
I'm not requesting.
Okay, so you're okay with it being?
This is what has been brought to us. I am just tired of things coming here before my face. I can't speak for anybody else and it just don't, yeah. But no, that's not necessary.
So there is nothing that you would like done to make you feel more comfortable with the vote. I want to make sure that I'm supporting your desires and needs and concerns.
Look here,
You're okay with
I'm
proceeding?
gonna be honest with you. I think that this position should not be tied up into this administrative assistant, administrative assistant, administrative assistant, administrative assistant, and a math teacher.
Madam,
And a consent agreement, which yeah, go ahead. I'm good. I'm real good.
Vice President Bowens.
so if we were to put this in staff report H3 of hiring an executive assistant. I guess my transfer is this is where I see where we're muddying the lines. If she transferred, sometimes the staff can transfer, like admin can transfer a person, correct?
Well, let me just clarify transfers, based on, well, two things I gotta say. Based on the vote that was taken, I think back in February, to change the role the superintendent plays in transfers, just want to say that, we now have to provide a list of transfers for both edu staff and our district employees. The reason we provide transfer for our district employees because their employment hasn't ended. This candidate interviewed, so I'm also going to respond to some other comments. This candidate interviewed, it was a hard decision, but you know, when we say we want to truly put the best people in the right seat, it was a hard decision, collectively as a panel, hard decision to consider allowing, or I should say, moving someone from the classroom. However, we are trying to be very intentional that we are presenting always the right candidate that we feel as a team is best for the position. So the
here's
reason
the
they're being
question.
transferred is their employment hasn't ended.
I get that.
Yeah.
There's a difference because when I transfer a different person to a different role that they didn't apply for versus she applied for this position, correct? And that's where the lines, now do you see where the lines are getting muddied at? Where it's not a transfer, it's a new, I guess it's kind of confusing because she is an employee, but she applied, whereas several of the teachers or staff did not apply. So do you get what I'm saying, Madam President? Or am I making sense to you? I guess not, never mind. But just wanted, that's where I'm getting confused at.
My suggestion would be that, since we have the recording, I would discuss with the superintendent. We can provide some options and see what works best for everyone.
Secretary.
So what I've asked this board multiple times, if it is his preference to separate the executive position, the executive assistant position from staff report H1. And there's been quite a few comments about that particular position. So Trustee Bowens, if your comment is making a statement that you don't think it fits under staff report H3, then you can amend H1 to remove this person and make it H3. And I've tried to offer that as a solution so that everyone is in a position of comfort to be able to proceed with the vote in a manner that works for the full board.
And I understand what you're stating. However, it also then becomes, when we hire a new hire, it's a different resolution because they are considered a new hire.
What would you prefer we do?
Everything. We can proceed. I just had a question and I'm glad. Thank you for giving me the leverage to proceed with my question and get the answer I needed.
So I just want to make sure I understand what it is that you all want as an action item versus us sitting here and talking about it. I want everybody to feel comfortable with the report to take the vote.
A new hire. And so this put under a report that says that's dealing with transfer. It's a new hire. And it should not be there.
So I would like to amend my resolution that we create a staff report H3, put Natalie Slinger as a new hire for staff report H3.
Okay, so Trustee Bowens, you are amending your motion to approve staff report H1 with the removal of Natalie Singer, correct?
Correct, and create a H3 and put
Understood.
Natalie Singer as staff report H3.
All right, and Trustee Rockett Martin, do you support that amended motion?
Okay, so that just create this as a new position and she could apply.
No,
Is that
she's
what you-
already,
So I'm gonna pause, if I could get everybody to pause for a second. All he's doing right now is removing Natalie Singer from staff report H1. It would then create a staff report H3 that we will take action on tonight. She will just be removed from the consent agenda. So what I'm asking you is, do you support the motion? Okay. All right, any comments? So make sure everyone is clear. Staff report H1 only includes Regina Robinson, Joyce Perkins, Carlisha Williams, Roxanne Gilbert. The
That is
motion
correct.
has been made by Vice President Bowens, amended from the original motion, and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any additional comments or questions from the board from anyone who has not had an opportunity to speak on H1?
I have a,
You have
I
the
have a
floor,
question.
Trustee Gavin.
thank you, President Robinson. Secretary Triplett asked a question and I didn't quite hear the answer. The question was, did you all talk to the principals? Like, what feedback did you get from the principals regarding this change of staff out of their buildings? Were they in favor of this change?
So the building principals that were that would be impacted by the change, we did speak to them. Some were for, some were open to proceeding, some were for the transfers remaining as listed. Some were opposed to the transfer being as listed. When we brought that information back to the team, and along with the information that brought us to this point, we still felt it was best to proceed to move the district forward with the transfers listed as is.
Okay, so, okay, thank you for your honesty there. I think it's so important to be honest when you're giving us this information. And so what we have is somebody was sitting somewhere and said, we gonna move the high school assistant to Fairplain East. We gonna move Fairplain middle school assistant to out of that position, and we're gonna make them a sub. We're gonna move the Fairplain East assistant and take them and put them over in the high school. And we're gonna talk to the principals. And there was opposition, and we're gonna do it anyway. And we're gonna take a math teacher from Fairplain Middle School and we're gonna put him in central office. Okay, and so that's what I mean when I say a reckless game of musical chairs. And we're gonna do it right before school starts. And that's the first face that our kids see when they come into the building. And then on top of that, we got testimony from an admin saying that she loves her job. She's going to school for that job. She doesn't want to be the teacher, but we just gonna move them anyway. And then we say we have a goal of improving culture and climate. That's not how you do it. Okay, that's not how you do it. And the way you do it is you listen to the people whose boots are on the ground and who are impacted by our decisions at the top. And so I vehemently oppose this type of arrangement because it upsets the building. And I also want to say this, there's a learning curve. When people sit in these new positions, there's a learning curve. That's why some people don't know how to do certain things, because that's just normal being new, and that's what's going to happen. So I disagree with this. I have an issue with this. And I think that the board should take this very seriously because we have a responsibility to set the tone for the district, especially with the school just getting started.
Any other comments from the board?
Oh, there's-
Trustee Doyle?
I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think we need to be moving nobody. People need to be where they are. What we need to be focusing on is retention and getting what these parents want so we can get our kids back. That's what we need to be doing. Not no right sizing, not no transferring, none of that. That is what happened to my son. Things was going on and administration was not available to him when my mother died. So I do not agree with this at all.
Madam President.
Trustee Rocket Martin?
Madam President, one thing that I've noticed that I've experienced that this is the job of HR. And I've been in the district for over 40 years. And every year we experience these kinds of things. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Everybody assume it is. For one thing, we are not in the buildings. The people that have made these recommendations, they have to do, sometimes you have to do hard decisions, but they're still looking out for the best interests of our kids and of our district. So, you know, you can get comfortable in a position and when you move, you may find that you like it even better, you know? So it is the job of HR. It is not our job to pick and choose who we put in our buildings. It is not our job. They have the blueprint. They have the day-to-day operations to look at how they need to move people around or however things need to go in the district so that they can best meet the needs of our kids. And I think it would be terrible for us to step in and oppose this just because we think it should be that way. When in fact, they're the ones in the buildings, they're the ones dealing with the staff, they're the ones dealing with the students and would know, you know, what they want in their buildings and how they want it. So, and we have to make hard decisions. It's not our job to run HR. It is not. We have one employee, and that is the superintendent. And every time the superintendent makes a decision, we have to question it. That is not right either. So if we have given him, and we've given him the rein, we say we support, then we need to support.
Thank you, trustee Rocket Martin. Secretary Triplett, can you call the vote for staff report H1? Can you come back to me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
No. Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Gavin,
No.
trustee Doyle,
No.
So I'm gonna vote no.
motion carried.
Motion should fail. Dr. Buss, I would just like to provide a clarification. My concern is the switching, and I'll be specific. My concern is the switching of the high school and the Fairplain East positions. And I know that we probably had about 30 seconds for me to get more clarification, but that's why I voted no. I'm just not comfortable with that move. I do not want my vote to indicate that I do not trust your judgment, because I trust your leadership, but I also have to trust my own instincts. And I'm just not comfortable with that. And so with them all being lumped together, that is why I made the decision of a no. I'm not exactly sure what your preference will be if you're going to go back to the table with your team and reconsider this, or I guess I'll ask you to give us some clarification as to what are we creating difficulties with this vote? Would it be helpful if there was another vote considered? I just kind of want to get some feedback from you.
I can go back with the team, Madam President, and give you more clarification.
Okay.
That way we can move the meeting along for tonight.
Okay, so we're going to proceed. We're on staff report H3. And this is concerning Natalie Singer specifically, who's currently in a position TNT Math, Fairplain Middle School, being transferred to the executive assistant to the superintendent position in central office as of 8/19/2024. I know that there is some conversation from the board regarding whether this would technically legally be considered a new hire or a transfer. And so we can maybe get some feedback from Neola looking at our policy, or to see if there's a depiction. I can understand the point that Vice President Bowens is making.
Yes, ma'am. I can most definitely do that. I was sitting here trying to make H3, but I can most definitely do that.
Okay, so at this particular time, I'll ask, is there a motion to approve?
So if you need clarification, can we just table it then?
That's perfect. We don't even have to proceed with the H3 if you want
Yeah.
to just come back. Okay.
Well, I'll have one until the
He
13th.
has one until September. Yes.
So how does tabling work? Like, I thought,
Somebody can make a motion to table.
so we won't even have a discussion.
There's no discussion on tabling once a motion to table is put out there. So that's why I was I was deferring to the superintendent so that he can give us his insight as far as like if he thinks we need to come back for another meeting or what his plan is. Because this is something he really wanted to do. However, right now, there's no motion to table on the floor. So if you had a comment or a clarification that you needed to make in this moment, this would be the opportunity to do so, because once somebody tables it, no discussion will take place.
I do have some questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so one, just in terms of when a person announces their retirement, how soon is the district able to post the job? You know, like, these are the types of questions I have was the job posted? Or do we have to wait until we approve the separate? I'm confused about the process, being that Liz told us a long time ago about, this retirement. The retirement, how soon can we then post the job and make it available to everyone? Is there a process? Do we have any procedures there, or we just kind of know about it in-house and we look for the person and say, hey, you want to apply for the job? I'm just concerned about our process there. Is there an answer for that?
Mr. McDermott or Dr. Butts?
Yes, once we know a position will be vacated, we do our best to post that position as soon as possible. Once we get the approval from the superintendent to proceed.
Was the position posted?
It was.
It was posted.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. And then with this, if there's a possibility that this item will be tabled and teachers are back to work when?
Officially Monday, the 19th.
Monday. So if this item is tabled and she's in a position as a teacher, wouldn't she be expected to prepare for her class? That's one thing. And then two, do you have a person who's filling that TNT math? Do you have a person ready to fill that TNT math position?
Yes, for the second part of that question. Actually, yes to both. If until the board votes, we proceed with the current position as is and the expectations of that role. And yes, we have found somebody to fill in that role temporarily. We have not identified a certified teacher yet, but we have identified somebody to fill in that role.
They would be a sub, would be on standby.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Secretary Triplett, was Trustee Rocket Martin, was your hand up? No? Okay, Secretary Triplett?
Yeah. So difficult for people to look at it from this perspective. I know how it feels because you're good in a specific area. A lot of times people want to lock you in. But first of all, it's been an investment in our teacher and training program. When did the job for the executive administrative assistant get posted? Because it was stated over 2 months ago. So is it fair for me to say that this job, when she said she was resigning, was posted 2 months ago? Or when was this job posted?
In June. I'll get you the exact date, but it was posted in June.
At the beginning of June?
The early part of June.
Okay.
I'll get you the
All right,
exact
but
date.
it was posted in June. And so I don't want to stop anybody. I don't know if this is moving up, or I don't know how to look at it moving up financially. I'm not sure what this is, but a math instructor who I know as an honor student, very bright academic student, when she was here at Ben Harbor, you know, and we don't have math teachers. Math teachers are few and far in between. So I like I said, I don't want to get into that, but this right here just it doesn't feel right. I'm just saying that. I don't know how to express it. I don't want to be accusatory. And it has absolutely nothing to do with us trying to tell somebody what to do, what the superintendent's role and his responsibilities and all of that, Trustee Rocket Martin. I just want to make that clear that, you know, but as our Madam President said, you know, there are some things that we look at and we just, you know, we too. And our president is the spokesperson for this Board of Education. You know, all the texting throughout the whole meeting, conversations back and forth, you know, it's obvious. It's clear. But what I want what's best for Ben Harbor Area School. And I want things to be done decently and in order. And oftentimes that's not always the case for me. And so I'm stepping out and saying, hey, my support of the directors, I stepped out, okay? And yeah, that's it.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Is her skill set seems to be more at the executive level than even in the class than even more so than as a classroom teacher. You know, from looking at what her resume shows. So I am in favor, since we have that class covered, I am in favor of what's her name, Natalie Singer, moving to this position.
So
Vice President Bowen.
it seems like we have a consensus, so I make a motion that we go ahead and approve staff report H3 to hire Natalie Singer.
Is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Trustee Bowens and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Everyone has had an opportunity to speak. However, we have a motion on the floor. What I will add is that I understand that there may be a concern about a person who is as intelligent as Ms. Singer being removed from a TNT classroom for math. However, Mr. McDermott has indicated that he has a replacement, potential replacement for that position. And I would hate for her excellence potentially to a classroom to be something that limits her from being hired as a, you know, in a position in central office that may result in higher pay for her. And so I know we do have to consider the best interest of the district, but if Mr. McDermott has a replacement for the math role, I would hate for our need for a TNT in math to be what prevents her from elevating into this position if Dr. Bush truly feels that she is the best person to do the job. This is the person that you have to work with. This is the person who their actions and their skill set is directly impacts how well you do in your role. And so I don't think it's anyone better to pick who you have in that position than you. And so if this is who you have faith in recommending for the position of your executive assistant, then I am willing to support you in that. And so that's the only comment that I have on this particular report. I'll ask if there's any other comments that have yet to be made. Trustee Gavin.
I just want to say that I agree with you, President Robinson, even though when I look at the logic of all these moves and saying we need to move this person because we need people in the classroom, and then there's a different decision here, right? It gives me pause, but this is the superintendent's executive assistant, and I respect that decision. And she may be ready to transition out of the classroom. I respect that decision. She applied for the position. She asked for the position. This is not her being pushed into a position she didn't ask for. And so I respect that. Even though, you know, students may miss her, I understand that and I respect the superintendent's decision to choose his executive assistant. And I look forward to working with her. And I hope that it's a mutually beneficial experience for both sides.
Thank you, trustee Gavin. The only thing I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, was that proceeding with this vote, if it passes, gives her a little bit under a month of time to coordinate and work with Liz to learn the role, which I think is extremely important. So if the board is okay with proceeding and she is approved, it will give us an advantage in this particular person having a strong start to the new role. And trustee Doyle, did you have a comment? Did I see a hand or no? No? Okay, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for staff report H3?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, thank you. So congratulations to Ms. Singer for stepping into the executive assistant to the superintendent role. I look forward to working with you collaboratively. You're a major part of the work that we do. However, I trust Dr. Buss' judgment in your selection. So I look forward to connecting with you in the near future. We've already taken care of the retirement of Ms. Goodwin. I do want to remind the board that it is 8:40 p.m. We really could have been done by 7:30 or 8. We've only taken vote on maybe 3 or 4 items if you include the minutes. So if we could try to get through everything else expeditiously, it'd be greatly appreciated. So I am gonna pass. Secretary Triplett, we have not had a facilities meeting, right? I haven't missed it.
No, you have not missed it. I, like I said, I called the superintendent a couple of days ago. And, but I want to meet with the director of facilities and the director of curriculum with the superintendent. Yeah, the student support. Yes.
Okay. Oh, we got 2 different people.
Yeah. Yeah, so student support services and facilities, we
Okay.
can meet together.
Okay, so we're gonna proceed to staff report, FAC 1. Director Dash, and I know that you told us to call you Bud, but you will not be called Bud at the table. So you will be Director Dash.
If I directed.
And I don't even know if I'm comfortable with everybody internally calling you Bud.
I'll just.
Director Dash.
Director Dash. So you'll be Director Dash in the boardroom.
Yes. So I'm gonna defer.
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna defer most of this over to Dr. Butts, but I did want to say I'm very excited to be here and to start doing this. And thank you, Mr. Triplett, for giving us some time to get our boots on the ground. That was cool. So, yeah, that was all. But I defer to Dr. Butts for this.
Can I hear President Robinson?
Oh, he couldn't hear. She couldn't hear. He was just saying thank you to Dr. Butts, and thank you to Secretary Triplett for giving them the time to get acclimated. He's gonna defer to Dr. Butts to present the reports today. We'll allow it this time. Next time you're on the spot, high seat. Okay.
Gotta roll in.
For the Middle Cities trustee designation, since we've had a change in directors of facilities, we have to elect a new Middle Alliance, Middle Cities Risk Management Trust person to be over our insurance. The advice that we've received is just to list the position, the title of the position instead of the person, in case in case it changes in the future, it automatically rolls over to that title and not a specific person. So for consideration, the Benton Harbor Area Schools is a member of the Middle Cities Risk Management Trust, having duly executed a membership interlocal agreement and declaration of trust on July 1, 1987. And whereas bylaws of the trust require appointment of a designated trustee and an alternate trustee as district representative to the trust board of trustees. Now therefore it is resolved that the Director of Facilities is appointed as the district designated trustee representative to the Middle Cities Risk Management Trust Board of Trustees and is authorized to cast the district's vote on all matters that come before the board. He or she shall serve as trustee until replaced by this board in its absolute discretion. The superintendent is appointed as the district's alternate trustee representative to the Middle Cities Risk Management Trust Board of Trustees and is authorized to cast the district's vote on all matters that come before the board. Should the designated trustee representative be unable to attend a meeting, he or she shall serve as the alternate trustee until replaced by this board on its absolute discretion. Furthermore, the Director of Facilities is appointed as Risk Management Coordinator for the district as provided in paragraph 8 of the interlocal agreement. The Director of Facilities shall serve as the coordinator until replaced by this board in its absolute discretion.
All right, is there a motion to approve staff report FAC 1?
So move.
Is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
I just want to, for Director Dash, I know it seems like, you know, he is in this role as director of our facilities. I don't want, you know, like for him, if it's the director of facilities, if it's his name, he is just as important as anybody else that's sitting in those roles when their names were on a lot of stuff. So I don't want it to be like he not doing this because, no, I want him to feel strong and confident in that area. And I want him to be supported with the same vigor that we supported our previous directors of facilities, and the same thing for our student services director. I just want to put that in the atmosphere, you know, because it's, you know, a couple of times I, you know, just briefly, you know, now we're going to do it this way, we're going to do it that way. Let's continue. I have confidence, the board has confidence that he will do an amazing job. He has been with our district for some time now through many transitions and stayed the course and did a great job. So I just want to put that out there that I want him to have that same respect and support as any other director, chief, or whatever gets moving forward. But I do understand with it being just the position itself, it makes it easy in case people leave. So I appreciate it.
Okay, Dr. Bush, just for my sake, are you in the live document? Can you edit it?
Yes, ma'am, I'm in the live.
Okay,
document.
can you open the header and put FAC 1 in there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because there's nothing that, I know that we're all clear on what we're voting on, but there's nothing directly that ties the document to that title on the agenda. Okay. Vice President Bowens?
Nothing, sorry, I'll come back.
Okay, any other questions from the board regarding FAC 1? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett, can you call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
Madam President, motion carried.
All right, and I just want to make sure that you all realize, I think you know from the bottom of my heart, I'm not trying to be rude or anything when I'm trying to keep the conversation moving forward, even with staff report H1. Sometimes there's a lot of comments, and whether it's concerns or clarifications, but there's no direct advisement for me to know how to proceed. And so I'm trying to prevent us from getting tangled up and caught on a staff report or any discussion matter. My job is to make sure we move forward. So I know that we have gotten past all of that, but I'm going to put your seatbelts on is basically what I'm telling you, because we need to get through this agenda. Yes, Vice President Bowen.
I had to step out, family situation. On facilities, do we know when we're gonna have a meeting?
We have yet to determine that, but we can email on it. We did ask for one.
Yeah, I'm going to meet with the superintendent and director of facilities, and then I'll meet with the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll proceed with Dr. Butts.
Yes, ma'am.
Need an umbrella for all this undercover shade being thrown
play.
in this meeting. Okay, Dr. Butts, you have the floor. For the
Both of
FP
my people now.
The FPE boiler images. And in all, you can just proceed. We're gonna keep it moving with the updates, and then we'll just let everyone ask the questions at the end of the facilities update. How about that?
That'll be great.
Okay.
So if you look at the monitor above, Mr. Mason will be showing the boiler images of Fairplain East. Just to show the progress they've made. The boilers are installed. The water tank should be there by now. I think those pictures were prior to the water tank being there. It should be fully operational. And they are ahead of schedule over on that end. The only part they're not ahead of schedule is replacing the facade, and they had to wait till the water tank was in. The facade on that wall should be being replaced, but it will be replaced such that if there's any new equipment that needed to be added or taken out, it's easily accessible. The next one would be the high school gym floor images. And when you get to that, you'll just see, it should be a blank slate of the high school floors as we've done the demolition of the high school floors. And so you'll see right there where they first started cutting. I don't know if there are updated photos in there of the actual blank floor. We took the board down the last time. That was during the AED presentation, but several of the board members that were here, we went down and looked at the floor. Mr. Triplett did remind me of how cautious I need to be when stepping up and down.
Yes.
I'll say it that way. Being cautious as I move around as I get younger. Also, the summer school, back to school cleanup prep. These are just some of the images of the hall as they look like glass in all of the buildings. Again, I give shout outs to Ms. D. Payne, who has done an excellent job in all of our buildings and making sure the floors, the bathrooms, all are clean. They've done all of the bathrooms in each building, removed all of the rust stains from the toilets from each building, and have waxed, mopped, and buffed all of the restroom floors as well as the hallway floors. They've done the carpets, the carpets smell fresh. They've even done the third floor carpet. So they've gone through every building meticulously and done the work. Yesterday I came in, they were wiping the window sills. Yeah, so they've taken great pride and great efforts in getting the schools ready for the students. As far as the track update.
There's no track update on the agenda. You
And
just
I'm
gonna
sorry, it
throw it in?
wasn't. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I can do that under my superintendent comments.
Okay.
Keep this going.
All right, he's gonna give us the track update in his closing comments. So at this time, I'll ask, is there any comments from the board regarding the boiler images, the gym floor upgrades, or the summer cleaning back to school prep? Yeah. Trustee Gavin.
So I guess it's Superintendent Buzz mentioned high school briefly, just wondering if there's gonna be an update there, if there's gonna be an update about the facilities master plan. If there's going to be, a long time ago, I requested that we get a report on the help desk tickets versus this is how many help desk tickets that went in. This is the number of help desk tickets that were resolved so that we can see a snapshot of, the efficiency of all of the facilities needs. So I'm just wondering if it's possible to bring that back to this reporting process.
And I can give an update on all but the help desk tickets because we've had a change in personnel. So your first with the high school boilers, we are still on track for 3 of the 6 boilers to be installed. What we've gotten so far, what we had to do were several inspections from the state. So what they've done right now, they are installing the new electrical panels for the new boilers that will be coming in. So the old panel that's under the building, so to speak, right now, are being replaced. They will be replaced strategically. Right now, what they're doing is they're installing the hardware they're cementing it to the floor in all actuality. And on the weekends, they will be tying in each portion. So as school opens up, we won't have disruptions in the school during the school day. So they'll be coming in on the weekends and tying in different portions of the new electrical part, where the state said that they have to, one part had to be moved and one part had to be completely replaced because of the outdated electrical parts. So they are actively working on that. We are still on schedule. The older boiler that is still there that will start off the heating season has been repiped, cleaned, and ready to fire up. They have already fired up. It is working perfectly. And it will be working in tangent with the 3 new boilers that they'll have online at the beginning of the fall. Now, what we are working on are making sure that we try to get some univents installed in the classrooms that were cold, because what we have found out, what I just recently found out in speaking with some of the engineers, is that unless we replace those univents in the classrooms, we will, although this system will be working at 100%, all of the controls will not be replaced by the, y'all call it the warming season, heating season, what y'all call it? When you heat up the place? Warming season, heating
Winter.
season?
We call
Winter.
it winter and you turn the heat on.
Oh,
Call it no warming.
so
season.
during the
Winter,
winter
we turn the
time,
heat on.
okay, so during the winter time, when you cut the heat on, some of the rooms will need the new univents, and we will be working on the new univents, so those classrooms will actually be warm as well. As far as the help desk tickets, I know that there was an option being explored of a new system. I know we just had a new director come on board, and I'm just hoping that he gets up to date, and I'm sure he's already worked on it. I don't know if you have an update now that you'd like to speak to Mr. Dash, or wait to our facilities committee for help desk tickets.
We're up to date on tickets. Everything's good. No problem.
She would like to get the amount of tickets that are being submitted, how many have been closed, worked on, open.
Okay, so we can actually proceed and allow Mr. Dash to come back. He can let us know when he has it. I'm not sure how quick it takes to pull it, but I don't want us to sit and wait on it.
So thank you. I think I had about 59 more seconds. So just for clarity, we will have something in place for temperature regulation.
Those
And
control.
the other question was about the facilities master plan.
Oh, okay,
Where
I'm
are
sorry.
we on?
So those controls will not all be in place. So that's why we're trying to make sure we get the univents in the classroom so that they will be warm. So by the end of the project, all of those controls will be in place, but not by winter time we cut the heat on.
That's Fairplain East,
Now Fairplain East all of their controls are in order.
just not the high school yet.
This is the high school. It's a much bigger, much more encompassing project. The master's facilities plan, we are on track with that. They are working on a survey to be presented back to the committee that we just had a committee meeting in June. What was that meeting when you all wanted? No,
June?
it was June.
Yeah.
It was June because President Robinson, we had community members, we had a student there. We had representation from all parts. We student from the community, from the board, student, and I think a business member as well was on that committee. And they're working on a survey so that they're going to present to the committee first, and then they'll put it out to the entire community as to what they would like to see going forward, moving forward in the master's facilities plan. So right now they took ideas and suggestions from the committee and are formulating a survey to be put out to the community.
Thank you for that. And I'm just wondering if it's okay with this board, or, if Dr. Butts is open to us having some place where the community or the board can see the updates to the master, like where we are in the timeline for the master's facilities plan? Because that's something that a lot of people are kind of interested in knowing.
Okay, I can work with the team and we can see, can we put something together and get it on the website?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Dash, are you ready just yet?
I don't have the number for closed tickets right now, but currently there are only 13 tickets that are being worked on at this time. That's all that's assigned right now. And today there was another 8 opened. So we have nothing past due really, but there are 13 tickets that are being currently worked on. And from the looks of them, they'll be done this week. Everyone's staying right on top of their stuff. I'm finding out we have a fantastic team, like really.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. It's good to know.
All right, awesome. So we're gonna keep it moving. 8:59 now. We only have one more report to vote on. However, we're gonna give our attention to Director Nichols. Welcome to the meeting. This is your first meeting.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate your patience and waiting to get to your section, but you can proceed with your attendance campaign / timeline, everyday matters.
Yes, are we able to show? Okay. So while, for the time's sake, I would just proceed. So what I wanted to do is share with the board and the community the attendance work that a team have been working on since, I want to say, March and April of last school year. That team is myself, Mrs. Matthews, who is our district registrar, Ms. Booth, who is our communications specialist, and also Ms. Martinez, our district family engagement specialist. And so we've been working on ideas and looking at ways to reduce our chronic absenteeism. As you know, research shows that school attendance is a significant factor in student achievement. So this evening, I'm sharing our communication timeline as part of one component in our attendance campaign to help our efforts in reducing chronic absenteeism. So as you look at the timeline, you will see the when, the why, the what, to whom, and from whom. And this have been shared with all of our building administrators to share with their staff and to use it this year. And as we look, moving for this month, as we welcome our families and students back to school, we will announce the importance of attendance and our attendance expectation, which can be found also on our district website. So that leads us down a little further if you were to click on the Everyday Matters flyer. Okay, thank you. Which we will have posted at each of our buildings. We have a QR code that when you scan, it would also take that person to our attendance expectations. So everyone is aware. So that leads us to now, you can exit out and go to the visibility plan. So we wanted to distribute highly visible messaging materials to all of our stakeholders by various media. So we can highlight our attention to attendance as a priority for our students, resulting in increased numbers of regular attendance. Which leads me now into our community letters to community stakeholders. So we can raise awareness of the district's attendance campaign. I know that is a part of our strategic plan as a district. So I wanted to make sure we are raising awareness around attendance and that it matters. So this timeline that we put together to communicate our efforts out in our community offers an opportunity to communicate the importance of attendance monthly.
So as we move forward with our attendance campaign, we are asking for support to communicate our message of everyday matters, which is be here, meaning in school, and to get there, which is to graduate. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna open up the floor for any comments or questions. Trustee Rocket Martin.
Been absent for a while. Postcard to tell, hey, where are you? I'll go, when will you be back or whatever. But I think that's a very innovative idea. Never heard
Yes.
that before, but good job.
Thank you.
Trustee Doyle.
I just want to say this looks very good, and I appreciate the work and the time you put in it. It looks like this will be very beneficial to our district. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Bowens.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. I love the plan. And here's a question. Sometimes if you incentivize things like once a month, the kids that got perfect attendance will get a pizza party or something. Have you guys thought about that or?
Yes, so part of our PBIS, we have asked each building, and also going into our count day, we have asked each building to incentivize students when it comes to attendance.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Secretary Triplett.
I appreciate, first of all, I want to say welcome to your new position, what have you, and thank you. One of the major issues is when we talk about attendance is that our daily attendance and documentation is not correct and updated. And so what role will the principals and the administrative assistants in those buildings? I know it is still elementary, half a day, when they first come in the morning, and then a half a day if they leave, then they get credit for the second half of the day. But at the high school, every hour on the hour, those attendance reports should be sent directly to, do you have a system set up like that where they're sent directly? And how do we have, with so many substitute teachers, so many teachers in training, how do we really honestly keep an accurate record? And are they being trained on how to go in and make sure that this is done every hour on the hour? Because there was a time we took students over there with 200 absences and they had been to school every day because it showed people were not every hour on the hour. The principals should definitely be involved in this, and it should be done rigorously every day. That the students are that the role is being taken properly by the teachers. What do you have in place for that, or have you even thought about it?
Yes, so thankfully, we will have our truancy prevention specialists. And some of the work that we had already did last year was attendance expectations. And each building is aware that teachers, as you stated at the secondary level, must take their attendance every hour by the hour. So that should be completed soon as the students get into class.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Trustee Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. Thank you so much for this communication timeline tool. I love that you have inviting families of severely absent students from the previous year in to have a supportive conversation and investigating their needs. And I love the idea that you will be using that information to develop an attendance support plan for them. I think you're going to get some very valuable information that will help us with culture and climate. So I'm really appreciative of this really detailed plan. And I would like, from a policy perspective, I know that when I was in school, you know, if you missed 10 days, I believe you unexcused absence, you could fail the class. You know, there was some serious rules. There were some serious consequences, and we all knew that, right? And I see like there's a hierarchy in terms of 3 days, 5 days. This is what happens. And then if student misses 15 days of a consecutive unexcused absence, they will get a final notice and a referral to the truancy officer for possible legal action. But I'm also wondering, like, what is your if you have one, you might not have it yet, but what would be your recommendation for excessive unexcused absence? If it is 10 to 15 days, should that trigger a response to the grade, or, you know, them being able to advance in their class? Does that make sense? Like, should it be an automatic grade, you know, F, unexcused F, and they need to repeat that class? Or do you think that there should be some consequences academically for this truancy?
Well, so I follow the board policy, which is policy 5200. And it doesn't state that we penalize for not attending school. So my recommendation would be, if a student is not attending, of course, it's going to affect their grade. But we have to make sure we're eliminating any barriers to them coming to school. So I don't like to look at it in more of a negative. I want to be more positive. So if we approach it in a more positive way, we will then don't have to worry about the back end of them as far as taking credit from them already.
So like if you had complete control, right? Like you're helping to make the policy just from your experience, because I know you work with homeless students, you're familiar with the barriers. From your experience, do you think it is wise for us to implement some academic consequences, so automatic academic consequences to excessive absence? Or do you think it should just, or no, we shouldn't touch that?
I would say no. As you stated, my experience working with students in transition, I would not recommend us penalizing for attendance. We really need to focus on eliminating barriers. Why are they not coming to school? Why are they not participating? We need to start putting it back on us and getting our students more involved in those conversations as well. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. So I will just add that I love it. I appreciate that there is something to be done throughout the year. So I'm excited to see the difference that this makes in our attendance for our students. And if you're able, if you have enough data, can you notate for yourself to give us an update maybe in October on how you see, you know, what has been done in August and September, whether you're seeing any positive effects from it? Or, I mean, it may be too soon, but if you do have some type of feedback to share with us, I know September will be way too soon, so maybe October or November. And you make that determination. It's not an advisement, but you come back to us and give us an update on what you're seeing from your timeline. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. Welcome to your first meeting. Great job.
Thank you.
We're going to keep it moving. We do not have our finance committee chair present. If there's no objections from the finance committee, I would like to just defer that to our work session. That's coming up later this month. Yeah, we do have to vote on the report. I'm talking about the committee update.
Oh.
Okay, so at this time, we're going to pass the floor to Business Office Manager Angela Brock Carter, and she's going to present the monthly financial report, staff report F1.
Good evening, everyone. I will be covering our monthly financial reports. These financial reports are focusing on June 2024. As you know, that is the end of our fiscal year. These reports are our current standings. As you know, the previous year's financial statements are continuously updated as we go through our audit, as we reconcile our books for the school year. So this is our initial June 2024 financial information. Our revenues and expenses are at about 89% for revenues, 90% for expenses. And that is due to the accruals that happen after June 30th. You know, our school year does end at that year and our fiscal year does end at that time, but we often have expenses and revenues that come in after that date. So once we have our audit and we do our accruals and our journal entries to get those items back into the year that they belong in, we should be at 100% as far as revenue and expenses for the year. And we are on track to do that. In our vendor payment report, our total expenses for our total checks for the month were $3,968,000 approximately, and that is higher than normal due to large payments being made to Andy Egan and Train for our boiler work. So that's why our expenditures are kind of high for June.
Okay.
And the ongoing reminders to our budget, we know that our state aid is recognized over 11 months, which is why no state aid is shown in the month of August. State aid is paid in October after count day. So just keep that in mind when reviewing the budget and our ongoing income. Again, we do have things coming in after June, so we'll have to go back and recognize them in June. So that'll make a difference in our financial statements. If you want to take a look at our budget summary, we are right on track as far as our revenue and expenses. Sorry, I'm going through my pages. And our general fund is right on track for this time of year compared to this time in 2023. The only portion that's kind of off track is, of course, our capital outlay, and that's due to our boiler work. And once we have our audit, we'll be updating these statements and they'll be reviewed again by the board. Any questions?
We're ready for you to present staff report F1.
Okay.
I'm
That's
sorry.
extremely important.
You want to, okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I guess because we didn't have the committee updates. My question is about the budget. We were told that the principals have access to their budgets. Is that also the case, like athletic activities? I see there's some expenditures there. Is that also the case for pom-poms? What is the process for them receiving access to their budget? And expenditures for that athletic group?
Each group, we have a meeting at the beginning of the school year and they outline the expenses they intend to have. And we agree on that and we agree on the budget. If that changes, we meet together again to update those changes. But we do meet with each individual group, each individual principal prior to the school year to get their expectations so they know their budget and what they can afford to do. But if there's any changes or any updates throughout the year, we meet often in order to make sure that they have everything that they need.
And so if the POMs or any other sports group needs to draw down funds for whatever it is they need or make, I don't know exactly what the process is, they need to use money from that budget. What is the process? Is it going through you personally or is it going through their athletic director? How would they draw down those funds?
Well, if it's an athletic group, it will go through the athletic director. And if it's just an after-school club, it will go directly through our office.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much.
All right, proceed with your staff report.
Staff report F1. A set of financial reports is provided to the Board of Education each month. This evening, it is recommended that the June 1st through June 30th payments be approved for all district funds. Policy reference 6470, payment of claims. Facility/operations, Ben Harbor Area Schools will develop and evaluate a physically responsible plan that will ensure physical and psychological safety. The recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the June 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024 payments for the following funds. The General Fund, $3,639,539.51. The Food Service Fund, $276,499.68. Sinking Fund, $51,276.46. Student Activity Fund, $824.43, for a total of $3,968,140.08.
Is there a motion to approve staff report F1?
So move.
Is there a second or support?
I second.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns from the board? All right, hearing none. Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Vaughn,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Rocket Martin. Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so thank you to our directors this evening for presenting the information provided. We're all through each of your areas. We're gonna proceed. Old business, as a reminder, we had a board retreat on Saturday, July 27th. It was a very wonderful retreat. However, for sake of time, I will put this topic on our next meeting agenda. Just a reminder to the board, because we did not have all 8 trustees present, it does not count towards our partnership agreement requirements. So I will be following up with you all to try to find a date that works best for the full board so that we can ensure that we meet those requirements. We also, which is not noted under old business, but just a reminder that if you haven't been trained on the superintendent evaluation, I think we're required to do that by, is it September? I'll double check the date and resend that out. So just a reminder that you'll have to get trained for that if you didn't attend. I think it's September.
Yeah.
September 3rd. Okay, Trustee Gavin.
President Robinson, being that the board cannot control the attendance of all 8 board members, and the board member has not been here in quite a while.
So I'm gonna have to do a follow-up on that, because I do not know, as it relates to the State Board of Education, how that impacts us. And so that's a sideline conversation that I'll have to have, and then kind of go to the state to see what our options are at this point.
Yeah, because I'm hoping that they would accommodate the fact that 7 of us were there.
Well, we did get an update that, so to that, I've already been told it does not count. Because we did not have all 8 present.
Right, so I'm wondering who can we appeal to?
Yeah,
that would say it does count.
Given I understand what you're saying. I'm trying to be respectful and not say too much, but I am going to try to approach that conversation, because I don't know what kind of, I'm gonna check into that. I hear you. And I will follow up on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so new business, I don't have any new business, other than what's the old business. Just I will follow up with you guys on potential dates and what I received from the Department of Education as it relates to our agreement. I thought about asking whether we can make an amendment to it, given that there's might be different circumstances. However, I'd like to actually research those circumstances before I actually approach them with that request. At this time, we have open public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to make a comment? And were each of you present when I read the public comment statement before? Okay, all right, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You know, how can I start this? You know, several years ago, the high school got dinged because paperwork wasn't properly put in.
Can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
That's
All right,
better.
can you hear me now? All right, so then we got here, we had someone who actually rectified the paperwork to put us back on place. And for the life of me, I can't understand why we want to continue to bring this individual up. And then on the other hand, I got another individual who supported us. When we look at the stats academically, my staff did a great job. Even Ms. Perkins was instrumental in that, making the phone calls. We need to start building on to make things better instead of starting all over again. I mean, I know I've only been in the district now about 11 years. And I'm personally, even as a citizen, I'm tired of seeing us go backwards. Everybody knows the state looks where? Here. And we continue talking about, you know, being prepared, the kids and all of that. Let's take a deep look in everything that we do. I'm not one to get up and talk. Everybody knows if I have an issue with someone, I go one-on-one and we talk. But again, for real, we got to look at exactly what we're doing. And kudos to my staff. Kudos to my kids. Just take a look, even at the cabinet, and I get it, but come and talk with us too. You know, I'm the whole school year, I'm here every day. Find out what we need before we just go and say, we're doing this. Have that conversation. That's all. Have the conversation and let's move forward. Let's be about our Father's business. You know, and it's not to say, and I believe we all here for the same thing. And when we understand, when we can come together, I'm not always right, I'm not perfect. But when we decide that we can come together, then we can move mountains. But we have to humble ourselves. Whatever issues we have or whatever, you know, this person might have something. Look, I love my staff. If I have an issue with the staff, I talk with you guys. And I'm not going to go even in detail. And I say it in there because she said it's okay. We got to stop putting, every time Ms. Robertson names come up in this, we already know what she's also dealing with, and she's still thriving by the grace of God and what she's dealing with. Let's also think about that as well.
Thank you. Anyone else for open public comment? You can come forward. You have the floor.
Good evening. I wrote down, I'll give this at the end of the meeting, just from the instructions I read again. So my comment is just regarding summer school. I taught summer school, world language, and I got to see my students, a small number, 6 in each semester. I got to see them all succeed. They all passed, they got credit. I can vet that. Those who attended, that is. I wanted to just give that positive feedback. I also wanted to share a couple contributing factors that I believe led to that. I've, as a little background, been teaching a world language for 2 years during this regular school year, 22, 23, 23, 24, and then summer school. What was different between summer school and the school year was, again, a smaller number of students. I did see that a major factor in my perspective is that cell phones were collected when the students entered into the building. That did allow me to interact and build better rapport with my students. And I know that that is just a little experience, but it was elating. I was elated to see my students who previously did not succeed in that same content succeed within an abbreviated time period, within about 2.5 weeks per semester. I got to see them learn and perform and complete an extraordinary amount of work. So I wanted to give that feedback. I also wanted to share that I take responsibility for what I permit and forbid in my classroom. I do want to share that that starts with me and it should stop with me. So I'm working on classroom management. I just wanted to give that feedback that summer school was positive in that. And I did see people have other positive experience there as well, amidst some of the logistical things that were being worked out with the rosters. So just wanted to give that feedback. I look forward to continue to teach this school year and to find ways where I can eliminate some of those distractions in my classroom, because I believe that ultimately, based on a couple students' comments saying that they do learn better, essentially, without having that distraction during instructional time. So however that works out for everybody and for me, I just want to share I have a positive expectation because I saw it work. And that was very encouraging to me as a teacher. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else for open public comment? If not, we'll go on to Dr. Butts, superintendent announcements and comments.
Thank you, Madam President. The first update that I'd like to give is the track update. I did speak with Banyan today in reference to the track. What was the holdup so far were getting the state permits approved. C2AE, who is working on our master facilities plan and our boilers, had submitted the plans to the state for approval. They just got the approvals in, and now we are waiting on the local approvals to get started on the demolition. There is also, I got to discuss in the facilities committee some changes that are taking place as they've gone through and look further into the project, but the actual demolition of the old track should start within the next few weeks once the local permits are acquired. Again, I like to give a shout out to the team for the back to school bash, all the effort that went in that will be going on tomorrow. Thank you so much for all of your effort and your hard work. Also this year from the Whirlpool golfing event, the check is actually through Benton Harbor Education Foundation, but it is through them that we request those funds back for activities through the school year. Last year we received $325,000. This year we received $350,000 for their donation from Whirlpool. So we got $25,000 more than last year. Also, just want to say thanks for all the commentary so that we can go back, and I thank the board for working with me as we continue to move forward to make our district better.
So we should have clapped on that money amount. Can you repeat that part? Because I think everybody a little tired. He was telling us about the donation increase, $24,000.
We got $25,000 more than we did last year on our donation. So a total of $350,000. So it does not go directly into our budget. What we do is we work with Benton Harbor Education Foundation and we request those funds. So in the past, they've helped with TNTs, they help with different projects. And what they're trying to do is be more intentional in working with projects that directly affect students versus paying for like salaries. So that's where we are working with the driver's ed and 21st Cent Ed for the STEM education that we're trying to bring into the district. So they support us on those efforts to bring stuff that directly impacts the students.
I would like to see that Black College tour in that.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Butts. Up next, we have board member announcements and comments. It's 9:32. So I'm going to pass the floor to I think Trustee Doyle. We'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm very tired. I'm ready to go home. It was a very good meeting. It was a very good meeting. I am thankful for the people watching, the staff, our new people. Welcome, 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 welcome. I expect great things from you guys. It looks like we're off to a great start. I was listening to what you guys are saying and let's do it. Mr. Moran, I thank you for your comment because it is very important that we communicate with each other and talk things out. We can figure this whole thing out with a conversation. Elnora Gavin, that's her thing, a conversation. So, with that, I like to just thank the board. Yeah, I won't cry today. So you guys, thank you.
All right, next up, we have trustee Gavin.
Thank everybody who came out, and I want to thank the people who joined on Zoom, and I want to thank the staff. I'm very grateful that Principal Morant spoke up. And I know it wasn't easy because he comes to all his meetings and he doesn't say a word, right? So for him to get up, it was because he felt it was necessary. He was led to do that. And it just reminds me of my uncle, Larry Gavin, who was the principal at Calvin Britton. And one of his teachers told me what she loved most about him is that he protected the teachers so that they could do their jobs, right? And so it's just super important. I think it's so important for all of us to protect our kids, protect our community, protect our tigers, protect what we have, right? And I just hope that we have that mindset of making sure that we're listening to how our decisions impact the end user. How does the decision we make up here impact that child or impact that staff person who has to care for that child? And if we're not, whatever our role is, if we're not doing that before we make the decision, there's an impact. And so I think it's just super important that we keep that in mind. I'm very much concerned about a director of finance, us having that position. I'm very much concerned about us not putting too many hats on one person, no matter how phenomenal they are. Us following the process and doing things right. And then something else came to mind. I know Dr. Butts had mentioned he wasn't able to brick the buildings because it was too cold. And so I'm hoping that we can revisit that. It's hot, it's nice outside. Can we brick the buildings that we have and protect the buildings that we have while we make decisions on what we're going to do with our facilities rather than allow another fire or anything else to happen. I just want to say I'm really grateful for the school board members who said, let's give the staff an opportunity to do their jobs and voted down that request to move them around. I think it was a very difficult decision because we do want to back our superintendent. But it was a decision that I think was in the best interest of our kids. So thank you all again for coming out. Really excited. Trustee Doyle and Trustee Raquel Martin and myself, we went to the Munetrics training. And so I'm hoping that we can get just even more clarity on how to use that powerful tool that will give us access to our budget. And so just super excited about the progress that we can make. Thank you all.
All right, Trustee Raquel Martin.
Yes, I'd like to say this as a building administrator. I'm kind of speaking for the administrators that we have now also, my past. It was always good to have conversation with HR. And it was something that building principals do. They just do it. And when they make decisions with HR, they're private decisions. And it's good to have that, to know that decisions you've made in HR with the HR director concerning your building is not publicized, or asked, did the principals know? Because that's a level of conversation that's good to be kept private at times. And so at least it was with us. And so when we talk with our HR director, we knew that it was going to come out at the board saying, well, did principal so-and-so talk to you or whatever, or did you, because that was conversation that was between us. And I think principals need that kind of conversation and that kind of security that when they make decisions in their buildings, so that, because they're looking at their buildings and they're the one in charge of their buildings and they know what their buildings need. And a lot of times decisions we make, we don't know. We think we know, but we don't really know. And so with that being said, I'd like to see that built in, that the principals can go to HR and say, these are the needs of my building, and this is what I would like to see changed, and have that kind of security and privacy so that they can do their jobs. I also would like to compliment again, Dr. Butts, on your cabinet. I felt like you've done an excellent job of making a choice for your cabinet, and that you can work with your cabinet and get the job done. I've never known a president to come into office that did not choose his own cabinet. And so each superintendent that we've had, they brought people with them to be their cabinet people. And so I think you should have been afforded that same, and we did afford you that same respect, so that you could, get with the people that you work with. So once again, hats off to your cabinet. It's not totally complete, but those that you have chosen from the training that we did with Munich, whatever, and just seeing you today. What is it? I think of Mucinex. Whatever. Right. Just the level of dedication and seriousness and professionalism and knowing how to show respect and talk with respect to people. I commend you wholeheartedly, and I'm going to clap for you now.
Okay. All right, next up we have Secretary Triplett.
You got me afraid to even say anything. I've been bullied over here by the president. You all don't know what I've been going through. I've been bullied. But I do want to say this. I'm grateful I am who I am. I have just come to the resolve that if it's 6-1, and if it's something that I don't see, I'm not feeling it, I'm just going to stand in my resolve. I'm not connected or joined to anybody, any group. I'm not trying to be a part of a four or part of I'm not from that political perspective. I'm for what is right. When I come here, I don't waste my time. I don't play. I might laugh and talk to you, but when I come up to this table, I'm very, very serious, because it's not a joke to me. Because people's lives are at stake. You have to be mindful how you treat people and what you do to people, because make sure you don't want it to be done to you. We get a lot of flack and what have you about what we're doing here at the board. And as Trustee Rocket Martin said, there are some things that are confidential, but we have a responsibility to let our citizens know things as well. So, when you come to this table, I know it's very frustrating, because we're scuffling, looking through, trying to pull things together, and that's something we all can do. I am concerned about the relationship between central administration and principal, in particular principal at the high school. The last 2 or 3, not just this individual, the principal of the high school. It kind of disturbed me to say we talked, and then we went back to our team upstairs, and our team upstairs is 2 weeks old. I mean, that was a little bit something for me. Then I'm like, oh, okay. And I don't see anybody on the team upstairs that ever sit in that seat. Because that's not an easy seat. And we just also, the things that we expect, we need to be able to do those same things towards one another. You don't like it from this end, don't give it on that end. And everybody work together. Everybody work together. And one thing I'll say this. It is a small community. Just like y'all talk to a whole lot of people. They call us, we're the Board of Education. These people vote for us and support us and expect us to represent. So, you know, the professionalism goes on all ends. And none of us at this table are employees for Benton Harbor Area School. We are the Board of Education. Thank you, Madam President.
You're very welcome. Vice President Bowens.
You know, I've been on this board for now going on 4 years, and since I've been on the board, we never had a full cabinet. So it is wonderful to see a full cabinet sitting there. I'm gonna say two things. Listen to what they say, but watch what they do. And micromanagement is like a cancer that slowly eats away at an organization morale, creativity, and productivity by John Maxwell. Peace out, good night, and have a good night.
Thank you, Vice President Bowens. So, I made a status today on Facebook, and I think it's relevant in this moment. Maybe it was the good Lord leading me for such. But it says one of the greatest lessons learned in leadership is that people don't quit their jobs, they quit their boss. No matter how stressful a job is, one supervisor or management team can make or break the will of their staff. Always ensure you are what lifts the weight and encourages them to keep grinding versus the burden that they bear. And so I would ask that the board, the administrative team, building principals, and everybody that's in a supervisory role kind of takes that in. We don't have an easy job. And there are many people that are counting against us, that are hoping that we fail. So there's a heavy burden that we have to lift from the start. I've also noticed that we sometimes as a district and as a board and as a community, when the district comes forward and says we have accomplished A, B, and C, instead of celebrating A, B, and C, we drag on that D, E, F, and G is unacceptable. And I think that we all need to be better at celebrating our wins. And so I would like to say to our administrative team, thank you. Welcome to your first official meeting as a team. Thank you for everything that you presented to us. Thank you for all of the data provided, your plans. I'm very excited for what's to come. I think you all have done a great job in answering the questions and attempting to provide the clarifications in your first full meeting as a team. And so I look forward to the excellence that you bring, working collaboratively with your superintendent as he works collaboratively with us, because it's all a team effort. Now, after I've gotten done with the pleasurable things, I will just say to this board, we only had 7 items to vote on, excluding adjournment, and only 5 of those are staff reports. And it is 10 o'clock, nearly 10 o'clock, and we are just leaving. That's absolutely too long. People talk too much. I don't know how more graceful to say that. I've tried for years to tell you all that we're talking too much, and that's what prolongs the meeting, but I'm just going to be short and sweet. We talk too much. And a lot of times we're talking, and it's not that what we're saying is not important, is that we go on and on and on and on. And then, for example, Gavin will make a point, and then Rockette has to come back and make the same point, or Rockette has to disagree with the point that Gavin's made just because it's Gavin. And I know you guys never do that. I'm tired of it. I'm tired. I've sitting here and I've attempted to be graceful. I give you looks. Secretary Triplett said I've been bullying him. Yeah. I try to underhandedly, passive aggressively get people in order when things are going haywire, and it doesn't work. So you guys are very good and comfortable with saying what you need to say. And I'm going to say it. It's too much. It's ridiculous. And then we're not going to do this again. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to ask, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Yeah, I know.
Secretary Triplett, can you call the vote?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bowens.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett. Yes. Trustee Rockette Martin. Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, meeting officially adjourned at 9:48 PM.